Hello, everybody.
That's it.
Okay. I'm full disclosure here. I'm going to keep this in the pod. Dave just told me that he likes the way that I do the intro, even though I had only really done it one time, and I have no memory of how I recorded this the first time. So now I feel very self-conscious about the intro to this pod. But so if it sounds that way, you can blame Dave. But here we go again. Welcome back, everybody, to the Cheap Heat podcast. We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm your host, Billy Sullivan, joined as always by the beautifully sparkling-eyed and mustachioed Diamond Dave Alinovich, my broadcast partner, to talk about the wrestling comings and goings of the day. Dave, welcome.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Good to see you on a newsworthy day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Newsworthy couple days.
One day bringing me a lot more joy than the other.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I know that I will be accused of tribalism because of a couple of takes I have here. But, I think I'm going to thwart that pretty...
In this room, you are the tribal chief, so they can...
Acknowledge
They
me.
can all acknowledge
Thank you.
Yep.
Finger up, please.
Finger's already up. It's an audible podcast. My finger never went down. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mention, I have a camera recording us at all times.
So, finger was never up. I got caught in a lie.
I don't. I just...
Finger was up the whole time.
Being a creep.
Being a creep.
So, you want to kick it off with the thing that just went down?
Press conference.
About an hour ago or so. The big Wrestlemania Kickoff extravaganza.
What
in
happened?
Vegas.
What do we know more than we did before the press conference?
I think for me, I know different than what I knew.
That's a good way to put it.
But it's not. It's no information.
No.
The way that they laid that thing out, and I think very intentionally, was so that they can both say, oh, yeah, we did, like, eventually down the line, in retrospect, can say, yeah, we gave you an answer. Or Cody said, yeah, I choose. But they also, I think, very intentionally left it ambiguous in that, like, okay, yeah, Cody said, yes, I'm going with Roman. And then when they cut back to the panel, Big E immediately said, oh, man, we got 2 months from here to WrestleMania. I can't wait to see what actually happens.
He also mentioned a tag match. I
heard that. I thought I heard that. I was like, what the fuck?
But that was so just to recap, if you didn't see the press conference, the WrestleMania 40 press conference in Las Vegas just finished, and it was advertised that the Cody Rhodes.
He is,
the Cody Rhodes.
Codes. I call him the Codes.
The Codes. He had a big announcement, which confused everybody because he made his big announcement on Friday, which was that he is not challenging Roman Reigns for the world, or what is it, the undisputed title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think very, very importantly, very specifically, not at WrestleMania.
Not at WrestleMania. He's like, it's not time for me to finish my story yet. And he went and got tribal counsel, which was, I don't know, a weird thing for him to say. And then The Rock comes out, and it's like, oh, it's going to be Rock and Roman. So today at the press conference, they advertised. At one point, they said, it's been a jam-packed show. We still have to see. And they show Seth, Roman, Cody, and Rock on the screen. So Seth comes out, go away. But can he go away?
I feel bad for him at this point.
It's kind of
like
sad.
He feels like the third wheel, like on the show that he's on.
Right.
He's supposed to be a champ. Yeah. They've buried the shit out of that belt in every way. Like now we're at like Roman on SmackDown was like, oh, that's a dog shit belt. Everybody knows that I'm the real champ. Plus you're not a workhorse because you can't walk, and like you can't be a workhorse if you can't walk. And then also now let's bring you out on stage, and like no one is interested in challenging for that belt. So
and no one did.
No one did
because he comes out, and then Roman comes out, and then Rock comes out, and they do this weird thing where before Rock comes out, Roman says, well, Cody was supposed to challenge me, but he said he didn't want to challenge me, so now I get to pick, and I pick The Rock. And then they still have Cody coming out, and he's their biggest babyface in the company. And when
biggest one they've had since Cena.
Sure. Hands down. So when he eventually comes out, I'm jumping ahead. So Rock comes out, And then they do this big thing about, oh, it's for the family, and to the point they put up a giant family tree.
Hilariously ridiculous family tree. That this all, by the way, Dave, the way Dave's laying it out, he's doing a better job than they did, because it was much more confusing what the direction that they were trying to lead us in was. It was unclear the entire time The Rock was talking what he was getting at or why, but I'm continuing.
No, you're fine. No, it remained confusing, and still, as we're sitting here now, after it's over, it's still confusing. But Rock and Roman are talking about family, and then like they're not angry at each other. They do the bad dudes like handshake.
Yeah, did you see The Rock? Did you see The Rock fucking pump his? That was my favorite thing in the entire press conference. The Rock visibly, when he put his hand out to do the Predator, Carl Weathers move, he pumped his fist a bunch of times to build that bicep up. Usually you do that off stage before. Rock is just like, no, I'm right here. I know we're gonna get a still photograph of us doing this Predator thing. So right on camera, I'm just gonna pump this arm up real quick. It's very amusing.
It's like it works when you give blood. They make you squeeze.
Yeah, exactly. The whole time, you don't really have to do that to shake somebody's hand, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start.
Unless you're The Rock.
Every hand I shake moving forward, I'm just gonna squeeze repetitively, just so I get a nice
power
pump.
move.
I get a nice pump in when I'm just greeting somebody.
But like you said, they're best friends now.
They're best friends.
Brothers.
So that's where it gets funny, and he's talking shit. He's like, oh no, Cody said this. I'm sorry. So Cody comes out to no music.
No music. What the hell?
And he's just like, wait a minute. He's tapping the mic backstage like he just found a.
I was going to be all over that if you didn't. I'm like, okay, your biggest baby face. Everybody else got music, by the way. Right. It wasn't like everybody's walking out on stage with nothing.
And he was advertised.
Yeah, and advertised. So it wouldn't have been like, oh, it doesn't make canonical sense or whatever. Like, no. Play his goddamn music. It's music. Cody. Everybody's chanting for him.
Right. Also, too, the camera angle was not very flattering. He looked very small.
Yeah, he did.
Next to The Rock.
There's they know that there is a way to shoot that stuff to make it look, even the underdogs, the smaller guys. There were like a bunch of times that Brian Danielson, didn't look nearly as little as he actually is compared to these monsters, because they shot it pretty well.
Right.
Obviously undersized, but Cody looked like a little.
He looked like a
little
dude. And then he makes his big announcement that he's choosing Roman Reigns for his WrestleMania opponent, which is his right as the Royal Rumble winner, which he also conceded this past Friday.
Exactly.
But now he has it back. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins is just in the background.
Standing there, with his dick in his hand, basically. Cuck Rollins just...
It was the most poorly... And then nothing happened. Oh, Rock slapped him. And they made a huge deal out of The Rock slapping him.
Yeah. Slap Cody, by the way.
Slap Cody.
Even though on Friday, The Rock and Roman they were... mortal enemies about to tear each other's throats out, and now they're brothers, and he's slapping Cody, who he was buddy with on Friday.
Gave him a big hug.
Yeah,
offered him tribal counsel on how he should proceed with his WrestleMania choice, and now he slaps him, and now he's boys with Roman. Rock is boys with Roman. I don't hate mega corporate heel Rock. He's kind of stealing the Young Bucks gimmick.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fine.
And The Rock can. We've done corporate Rock before. It works.
Sure.
He can do that.
20 years. Though,
it is.
Right?
But he can. He's fine in that role.
Which is great.
I don't. But my only issue with it is that I think that they. Okay, so my overall take on that press conference. Are you
That's about it.
There's a couple other things that I just want to touch on slightly because I think they're funny. But are you good?
All the big beats in the last segment, I think we covered.
Okay, so Cody, and I think Cody did the best job, at least at the talking part today. Just because he's just better than everybody else at kind of spinning stuff on the fly. I think we saw that when they did the post Rumble presser and we're asking some tough Vince questions and stuff. Cody was the best at doing that as well. But I thought he did the best job of at least some clarity in what he was saying. The only problem is that he insinuated in this thing that he had not, that what we watched on Friday, he had come out and said, I had a consult with The Rock, and I'm just going to bring him out now, but I'm not going to say anything about what I'm going to do. When I had to go back and I actually rewatched to make sure that he did in fact say, yeah, I'm going to finish my story, but not at WrestleMania. So that was absolutely, it had to be a pivot. It was not like something people are going to be reporting. I think Meltzer already today was like, oh yeah, no, now I know that this has been a work that they've been, working on this exact story. They're trying to do the Daniel Bryan thing. And it's been forever. And Triple H was always in it. Like, no, because Cody wouldn't have said, I'm not going to do it at WrestleMania. There's no reason for him to have done that. Like, he would have just left it vague if it was going to be a up in the air thing. And I think the greater overarching thing about this press conference is I don't think they know what they're doing at WrestleMania yet.
Well, it's as clear as day. If they knew what they were doing ahead of time, why did they cut the part of Cody hugging Roman and looking all sad? I'm sorry, when he hugged The Rock and he looked all sad.
Yeah, he had Cody cry face.
Why did they cut it out? If they knew what they were doing and this is all part of the plan, how come he was all sad on Friday and now he's all like wronged at the press conference?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
but I mean, I think
continuity.
to right now, I think they do not know at
Starting
this
now,
moment
moving forward.
what they are going to do. I don't know. I think they went into this presser with the idea, obviously, like, okay, Rock is getting Rocky Sucks chants and Raw, and everybody's going nuts chanting for Cody. It's trending everywhere, not just like among the wrestling bubble. It trended worldwide, #1 on Twitter X. So they saw that and they were like, okay, we have to do something with this. And I'm sure that it really did come from like Ari Emanuel, the guys at the very top who don't know wrestling a ton, but they obviously know The Rock because he's like fucking Rock, like he's The Rock. It's the only guy that they're gonna for sure know. And then, put him on the biggest show. I'm sure that's how it started, with him being there, and I'm sure they still want him there at WrestleMania. But I think today they went in and just their only pivot was, okay, Rock, we're gonna heal you up now. We're gonna make you the bad guy, and so come out and kind of do your just Rock thing. Which, by the way, Jesus Christ, the pacing on every WWE.
It's tough.
Like, why do they need to all talk like the game? It's my bigger issue with WWE. It's they treat us, and I still consider myself a fan of WWE, even though it's not my favorite. They treat us like we're brain damaged, and we're not going to pick up on any subtlety ever. And they also have to speak to us like we're mental patients, and it's time for meds or something. Even the Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, with that slow ass cadence, did his Rock stuff. Finally, Rock's back, Vegas, yada yada, and then I think the first sign that he showed that, okay, I'm going heel here. He made a comment about the Cody Criers.
Cody Crybabies.
Cody Crybabies.
Yeah.
So he said, oh yeah, the people that are booing this what will be the greatest main event in wrestling history, yada yada,
also,
are Cody Crybabies.
He showed his cards earlier because he did the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
Before the presser, and that's when he started saying the Cody Crybabies, and he's openly talking about wrestling fans sending death threats to his daughter.
That's it. I mean, that's like time-wise, that is exactly when they started the spin, because that's also when Cody posted the "I've made my decision." Like the single line, like vague, like, yeah, we know you made your decision, Code. You told us on Friday. It's super clear, dude. Or but yeah, I think they right now what they know is like, okay, we had to pivot in some way because we don't want The Rock getting booed at Wrestle. We do not want Goldberg versus Lesnar from that was so like abysmal and embarrassing, hard to watch.
WrestleMania 20.
Yeah, I was what number was it?
20.
Was 20?
Yeah.
Oh, because did that close?
No,
that didn't close then.
He Who We Shall Not Speak Of.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But that was I'm like, I think I've only ever watched that match one time because it wasn't even like, oh, it's mayhem, so this is interesting. Yeah. It was like, oh, Jesus, this is ugly. And I think that they were afraid probably that was going to happen again, especially considering, some of the past that Roman had prior to Tribal Chief and stuff. So I think they said, okay, we got to pivot. We got to heel Rock. And they didn't make him like, a super dastardly monster heel, because I think they want to hang on to the very, very, very casuals that were. There were some people in the crowd still chanting Rocky, Rocky kind of stuff. But they definitely like, okay, we got to pivot Rock heel. Cody's going to try to lay claim to, his title match at WrestleMania. But we need to leave like the final outcome of what that's going to be vague, because we don't know. Are we going to do a triple threat? Or are we going to like you said, when Big E said tag match, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, no, that would be a huge mistake.
I think they're doing that at Chamber. I think they're doing that at the Elimination Chamber.
The dollars involved is the only.
But Australia is paying the entire bill for that show. Air cross, that this doesn't happen. If they want Vince McMahon to show up and it will cost $1 billion, they will. The city or the country, I think, is on the hook, or Perth. I'm not sure how it works, but some territory.
I knew it was like some kind of municipal
is responsible for paying the entire bill for that.
But is that the entire bill like that they've agreed to now, like already, or is that the entire bill plus the $2 million bumper we have to give to Roman for working an additional date, the $4 million bumper that we have to give to The Rock for working a second date?
It's like you had a nice steak dinner and you're like, you know what, I kind of want dessert, but you already paid your bill. You're
exactly.
Like, bring it out. And they're all inconvenienced, and they don't want The Rock there either.
That's probably one of the reasons why they don't know. I very much think that they don't know exactly what they're going to do.
So what do you think is going to happen?
I think that. I don't want to say what I think is gonna happen, because my brain goes to what I hope would happen. But WWE has done to me over 30 years is that, like, we would say that, like, when AEW is at its peak, and it currently isn't. Things are looking good, but not at its peak. But like 2021 AEW, we'd always say, like, okay, whatever you think is going to happen, they surprise you with something that's better than what you thought of. Like WWE for like most of my life has done the surprise you with like the less obvious thing that is much worse. So like what I would like to have happen is for The Rock to corner Roman or whatever. I don't want Rock doing any between the ropes wrestling.
He's wrestling.
I know.
He's not shy about having a training camp. When he was on Pat McAfee, he kept talking about, I got a training camp and I have multiple rings in Hawaii. Like, I get it. You're that. You just say Hawaii.
Yeah.
So
my ideal, would be not wrestling, and then it's just Cody and Roman. Cody gets his moment with the belt at the end, standing tall. But like you said, that's not happening.
There's so many things in play here, and one of the things I don't like that is so what I think is going to happen is they're going to do 2 nights. I think Roman Rock the first night. I think Roman he has to retain, right? So now we're going. Rock is
he's gonna eat a pin.
So
Roman's gonna work 2 consecutive nights, and Rock is gonna eat a pin.
So here's where a lot of this doesn't gel. He's been the champ for years now. Years.
Yeah, so we're coaching Hogan kind of stuff.
That's another element to this. So he's going to theoretically work night 1 against The Rock. Let's say, for the sake of argument, he beats The Rock. Now he fights Cody night 2. So now he's fighting a weakened Roman Reigns.
Exactly.
So
not final boss anymore.
And it neuters the pomp and circumstance. 100%. Right? So, but let's say it's vice versa.
That's why Rock cornering would make more sense.
But then Rock's going to... So if Rock wins night 1 and it's Cody Rock night 2, Rock's going over. He's not going to drop the title after a day.
Yeah, and that's a nightmare situation, and not in an American nightmare situation. It's a dog shit booking situation.
And then then option 3 is Roman beats them both, which I kind of like. And then he goes...
Yeah, that's not terrible.
No, and then he goes and he beats Hogan's record, which I thought was the plan the whole time. He just beats Hogan's record, then he drops the title.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be all over it negatively if it had stayed just Cody Roman and like Roman went over. Like a lot of people would be angry like they were last year, but I actually think doubling down could have been a cool thing to do. You keep because Roman's like aura and stuff when he does his intro, it's still badass. It still feels Final Boss-ish, but like whatever they're doing now, it's gonna pull away from that in some way. Whether it's like you said, weakened Roman, or he needs Brock's help, or maybe he has to wrestle 2 matches in 2 days.
They're not going to do some shit where they call like all those people from the family tree. They're not going to make this like 17 Samoans are going to be out there, are they? I wouldn't put it past them. They did it with the Hart family. Oh man,
I didn't think of that, but that ridiculous family tree thing.
There's got to be at least
brought out.
Who are they trying to bring in?
And one of them just became a free agent.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
One of the Fatus or whatever. Yeah. But so that's all. This could have been avoided if they said nothing on Friday.
Exactly.
And if they went into this press conference and The Rock came out and Roman's like, I want to fight you. And then Cody's like, whoa, wait a second. That actually would have been cool.
That's a story then. That's an interesting story.
That's the first time that would have been done, because you got known guy who just became the board member of a company is injecting himself into the main event.
Yeah.
And then the guy who earned it is like, well, no, wait, what the fuck?
That's bullshit. I'm the guy. I won the Rumble.
And then that naturally sets up those two.
Yeah.
Right? And then Cody's hurdle is even bigger, because now he's got to beat the 2 big bads of the bloodline.
Yeah, and you have precedent that you could that the announced team then could cite. The same thing happened with Daniel Bryan kind of thing, and having a fight through it or whatever. And done that way, it works. And maybe they can still finagle themselves into something.
We just need
resembling that.
They got a Men in Black, everybody.
But
just for that one day.
Well, WWE does that all the time. I mean, every single DVD they ever put out, every documentary, just is straight up lies about stuff that I lived through. You watch the death of WCW on Peacock or whatever now, or the DVD, and it makes me think I'm gone bonkers, because they're gaslighting shit out of us, because it's not at all how what happened and
he who wins
what way.
The war writes the history.
Exactly.
So, Monday Night
so
War.
they will. That's why I feel very strongly that they don't know what they're doing yet, and they left it as vague as they could, because they know full well. Oh, we're WWE. We've done this a million times. Vince has taught us one thing: we can rewrite history. Absolutely. Right. And that's what they will do down the line. Whatever ends up happening, they'll retroactively tell us a different thing happened for certain. Yeah. That's the only thing I know for sure. But everything else I think is up in the air.
The only thing that can't happen is Seth being a part of this in any way.
Again, I feel so bad for that guy.
Neutered the fuck out of that guy and that
belt, which I forget.
Get rid of it.
Why did they brought the belt? I thought they brought the belt in to be the Cody's thing something. There's a rumor, because it looks like Cody's, his Homelander aesthetic. That's what the belt kind of looks like.
It's ridiculous. Still WCW World Title with a gaudy WWE logo in the middle.
Yeah.
Which, get rid of the logo, you sell a lot more of those things. But, I don't know. Seth has it, and they tried to make Seth the workhorse champ, and, all that work. Let's say he had nothing but 5-star matches in Rome, and as of this presser, it's just said that's what did he call it? The consolation prize?
Yeah.
Or that's the B team or something like that?
I think all of those things are what he said, and I'm pretty sure.
And now Seth is standing over there just dressed. Oh, what are you? He used to be fun.
You're right. The dress thing? That makes it so much more oh, God, cringy. I'm sorry, man. If you're just standing there as the cuck guy, is bad enough. But if you're standing there as the cuck guy and pimp suits and giant ridiculous sunglasses, it's so much worse.
Get him his cuck chair and let him
that's what it felt like. To me, that's what it felt like watching the thing.
It was uncomfortable. I still think it's going to be McIntyre, and I would love for it to be McIntyre.
I think he's my favorite thing going in that company right now. Punk's hurt and KO is always my boy, but Drew McIntyre is the only thing that is just consistently hitting on all cylinders right now.
Except his merch. That new shirt sucks, but I think that's the point.
It does. It intentionally sucks. I swear his new shirt sucks too, by the way, which pissed me off. I didn't.
We'll get there.
My only. We'll get there.
We have so much time for Dynamite.
That's true. But the for sure things, or the things that I feel most strongly about, is they haven't decided, and I actually have some questions about whether, if it was an Ari Emanuel thing that The Rock was going to be there, they may have deals in place that involve The Rock being in the main event of WrestleMania already.
That's the big news I forgot to bring up from the Pat McAfee show. They just announced in November Moana 2 is coming out, and that he's got a new line of clothing or something with a Dick's Sporting Goods. It's Project Rock or whatever.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, he's purposely being a bad guy. He's corporate shilling himself. But like that's who he is now.
Yeah, that's what he absolutely is that.
Right.
And I think he's way less self-aware than he was back when he was like a full-time wrestler. Now he's been in the Hollywood bubble and like had been around him nonstop, and he just is not self-aware at all. I do think that it was the wise move to like pivot that a little harder into the heel thing. I think you're right. I think they did start like had they not pivoted, he still would have shilled his bullshit on McAfee.
Yes.
But he did it with a little bit more mustard on it, like to lean into the heel thing today, I think.
Sure.
But like the very real possibility exists that like those deals, like the Moana and whatever else you mentioned, are like stuff that's already signed. Like to be Rock being in wrestling in the main event of WrestleMania could be a part of already done deals.
Yes, he did say something that annoyed me. Just like I don't understand what he meant. He said, "Oh, we're making Moana 2, which is I believe a cartoon."
Yeah,
and then he said, we're also having plans to make a Moana cartoon. What? It is a cartoon. I think what he meant was like
best mic in the business, huh?
Yeah, with his 3 catchphrases that he can span out over 2 minutes of dead air. Oh, it was terrible. By the way, he was doing that when it was 55 on the hour, and like when The Rock started talking, I just kept an eye. I'm like, oh, this is going until the top of the hour, and like they missed it barely, but like I'm like, oh, he's gonna stand here forever.
Yeah, doing that cadence I was talking about that makes me want to like, pull what remaining hair I have out of my head.
I guess if you're an advertiser, you're happy The Rock's just standing there. I don't know. That's all of it, right? We pretty much
I mean that's like my the big takeaway I wanted to touch on is that I am convinced that they still right now don't know what they're going to do. I
probably
think
writing it right now.
There's a bunch of different options they have, and like. It's better, whatever it is, it's probably going to be better than what they were going to do, what they're planning to do on Friday, because that was just Rock Roman. It's like clear as day in retrospect that their plan was just Rock Roman. And anything, I guess, is better than that. I still would love to see Rock not wrestle at all. But the one other amusing part, when The Rock came out and was doing his Rock spiel, when the Rocky sucks and the booze happened, he's still he came into this knowing obviously that okay, I got to lean heel because this fan reaction was not what we expected. Although reports are that Cody knew exactly because he always does, what the fan reaction was going to be. But even knowing now, being told like, okay, Rock, the reaction's this way, we're seeing these trends, so you got to go heel, so they're not going to cheer you. Knowing all that, when the booze and the Rocky Sucks stuff started happening, he still looked like his eyes got watery. He got like shooketh. He got like his Hollywood ego has not dealt with that shit in a long time, and it gets to him. I think like
at least he
visibly.
didn't hold his arms up and show us its goosebumps this time.
Yeah, that is the worst, especially since he's
goosebumps.
Like the specificity of that, because he's like soulless now, so he definitely does not get goosebumps for like
maybe
Cody does. I guarantee you, Cody still has a total wrestling boner. Like he loves every second of that. He's like it's all earnest as hell, which is why part of the reason why he's so super over. Right, it's nerdy, but it's real.
Yeah,
the Rock stuff just comes. Everything reads as phony.
100%. Yeah. What else did you say from that press conference?
Okay, yeah. So the presser was supposed to be, I guess, like a kickoff show like they'd have, right before pay-per-view on YouTube or whatever usually. So they went over a few other things from WrestleMania, although they didn't really. There was no announcements or anything. They just brought out some superstars. And the couple of things that or one thing specifically that I super, super loved was that they are now evidently acknowledging on air that Rhea Ripley is just a femdom fetishist. Becky came out and said, okay, for the first time in your life, you're going to have to be the bottom. And I'm like, okay, so they're just saying it now. Right. They're just like, okay, yeah, she's just like a dom, like usually insinuated. They're saying the
Right.
quiet part out loud. Like,
Despite it being a pun on Mommy's always on top.
yeah.
It's
like
still
all of it was like
Mommy's on bottom.
yeah, like pun, yeah, like pun-ish, not.
But also too, she's like a
and
leather,
Dom being
she's a
his
leather
name being
daddy,
Dom.
like so
yeah.
it fits.
And like when
Leather mommy.
when she pins people, she does so in a like a very sexually explicit Dom way.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they've been insinuating for forever. That's what it is. Part of the reason that she's as popular as she is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's great. She's got tons of charisma and stuff too. But that gimmick is like interesting. It's new. It's something we haven't seen. But like it was just funny to see them acknowledge that,
Right.
like specifically on screen. And Becky, she's amazing. I love her.
It's gonna be her. It's those two, right? It's like kind of irrelevant who's in the chamber.
Yeah, no, it's not, it's those two.
definitely those two.
Yeah. Like
So-
I think that was I mean, I can't say for certain, but I think that's the thing that people have kind of assumed for like going way back.
Right.
That it was going to be that whatever happened at the Rumble wouldn't really matter because it was going to be that belt would be Becky Lynch. It's time for
Right.
her to go after that belt because that's the two big, that's the big clash names that
Sure.
people want to see.
That's the marquee event.
Yeah.
They're leaving a lot of ladies off the show.
Who
lot.
knows? It's 2 nights. We still.
But I mean, look at all the titles. It's so Bailey and Io, and then Asuka and Kairi. They're
Yeah.
probably going to wrestle those two. What their faces that they've been Katana Chance and
The partiers that we.
it's when I go get chips
Yeah,
and hummus. I don't know.
The women's tag division, it's tough.
It's always been tough. It never really got off the ground, even when Bailey and Sasha had it.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, what's Bianca doing? What's Nia doing?
Bianca should be a monster heel right now.
I thought they were turning her. I heard she was joining whatever they're calling the Hurt Business now.
Oh, the let's put every black person together.
But
Vince
they also
McMahon
said,
playbook.
They also said that wasn't intentional, which is yes, it was. Of course, it was.
And also,
intentional.
like, if you're saying that, then it means you noticed it, and you probably like, yeah.
the LWO was never intentional. It just happens to be a bunch of
That's why I
Mexicans.
love Brian Cage so much. Like, okay, you don't have to you don't have to do the Vince thing where just black people get grouped together automatically.
As long as you're dressed cosplaying like Kano.
Yeah, exactly.
good.
I think Bianca, like, I'd like to see her as like a standalone. I mean, WWE is not AEW. You don't need to be in a stable, like, because things are not presented in as like a it needs to make sense kind of way. And I don't say that in a bad way. Like,
Right.
it's a more fantastical program they put on. So like you can be an individual and be okay in WWE. And like I would like to see Bianca do that because she's like super dominant physical specimen.
She used to be a good heel in
Yeah,
NXT.
yeah.
So like she's got it in her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think she would excel at it.
Also-
She started getting a little stale as doing the beyond like fan favorite but super generic like sportsy fan favorite kind of thing.
They're not going to do her and Jade, are they?
I think they would. They eventually they're going to have to, right?
'Cause they had that stare down.
Jade makes her look kind of small,
Jade somehow got more yoked.
Yeah,
since she came into
I knew
play.
she was huge, but I assumed, like I always assumed, going in that direction, like jump ships going that way to WWE forever, are always going to look smaller in WWE, because that's usually the way it is, just because it's always been Land of the Giants. But yeah, Jade somehow is bigger than she seemed.
Yeah.
In AEW, because yes, her standing next, I forget where it was that I saw them.
Is that the Rumble?
Was it? Oh yeah,
They were doing military
yeah,
pressing
that's right.
two people respectively, and they were so polite to just stay up there while they
Yeah,
had that stare down.
yeah.
Sometimes in wrestling, you're like, "This is fine," but other times you're like,
Yeah.
"Come on, guys."
Oh yeah.
It made a moment. It was a nice one.
Yeah, it was.
I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as the nonsense is consistent, it's
Sure.
fine. But Jade looked like considerably bigger
Yeah.
to me than Bianca. I mean, I know from watching essentially all of Jade's matches, and Bianca through her come up and through her like title reign, Bianca's a much more athletic person.
Oh,
of
totally.
the two. Like she's her ceiling as far as a wrestler goes is much higher.
Yeah.
Like even if Jade tops out, I think it tops out as like good worker, solid worker. If she,
But the bar's so low. Not that it's low, but like your expectations are like, we'll see.
I think they reset expectations on her. Triple H did anyway when he was like, "Oh, she's not quite ready."
Yeah.
I mean, she totally was ready to be on TV. He's putting Maxine Dupree on TV weekly, which is like super irresponsible because she's gonna get hurt and it's like gonna kill her career for one. She's not it's not her fault at all. She's just had 3 matches or something, 4 or whatever it is now. And she's all those matches, the ones that you're supposed to like stumble through and learn the business, like they're doing those on Raw.
Yeah.
Like that's not ready. If you're putting her on TV, you can't tell me that like the Jade that I watched AEW was not ready for TV.
Right there, it shows one of these is more valuable to us than the other one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One should be able to sue the company for destroying her career before it gets started. Because somebody's gonna get hurt in one of those matches. But like I was saying, the Triple H, I think, intentionally reset expectations on Jade, set the bar low intentionally, lower than it would have been had she just come over and people like fresh in their mind remembered that Jade, over her time in AEW, she did kind of improve quite a bit.
Sure.
In those matches towards the end, particularly like the Statlander one, like they were good matches, not just like passable, but like good back and forths. She wasn't doing 20-minute classics, but they were like good matches.
Right.
So
for her, that's all you need. Like if you
have that look,
if the expectations are super low and you have a passable match, that's a jump.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So like by comparison, you are improving. Like no, you're not going to be Ricochet on night 1. Like but that's that's
unless you're Logan Paul, evidently.
Apparently, but then I don't know. Try not to tear everything in your knee before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Who's he fighting at Mania? Is he doing Owens?
He's working Owens right now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
they
but we're like 2 pay-per-views away from Mania, right?
Who?
I like that. I like that matchup. I like Kevin Owens. I like anybody. That's why I want Punk and Punk and Owens, obviously, but that's why I want Punk and Logan Paul too, because I think whoever the most like believable and earnest and has like their character has been truest to who they are in real life, works real well against Logan Paul, because Logan Paul, we know in real life, is like a piece of shit. He's currently still scamming people out of money and stuff like so. Like you put Punk in the ring with him with a hot mic, there's a chance that gets like called out. And I think the same with, to a lesser degree, but to the same thing with Kevin Owens. So I like that. I like that matchup. It feels a little far out from WrestleMania to be doing the build that they're doing right now with that being not like a main event kind of thing. Yeah. And they do have like, they get, it's 2, right? 2 shows between premium. I hate that.
What's the other?
PLE.
No,
it's just Chamber?
Chamber and then Mania.
Okay. Yeah.
Premium live events.
I guess I always tie the idea of Backlash, I think, into WrestleMania, but that's post WrestleMania.
Because that's the back.
Because
that's
the backlash of everybody's disappointment with what crap they did most years at WrestleMania.
Usually a rematch.
Last couple have been pretty
too.
solid. Yeah. Did I anything? Oh yeah, my other note, just Punk obviously. And he was on the panel. Great talker as always. But Big E was there, and as huge a fan as I am of Big E and always have been. I kind of forgot how good a talker he is. Like he's great at that. They're talking about like using Punk on commentary, which I'm in one hand I like. He's great at it. He could do it better than anybody they have right now doing commentary. But I do think you take away from his mystique a little bit if you put him on commentary like every day. Yes. I think Big E on commentary would be a wise move.
That's not bad.
Because it seemed like kind of up in the air whether he is ever going to be able to wrestle again. His injury was so like egregious. It was terrible.
Yeah. It's tough to watch.
But and I feel bad for like Ridge Holland dude too. Like
he's got to live with that.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that too.
Yeah. But hearing him talk today, it was like, oh, you would be a good color guy. He's better than Corey Graves. I mean, now Corey's the play-by-play friggin' dude, but like Biggie is more entertaining than any of the
Maybe this was a pilot. Maybe this was a test run, a 1-hour live show.
You give them more credit than they deserve, but yeah, like that could be. Yeah, I guess.
Well, they're bringing in like. Remember when they had a string of just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And like he's the lead guy.
Yeah, I think that ended 2 weeks ago because we had Kevin Patrick.
That's the one I'm talking. Yeah. And then
that just happened.
A new guy would pop up and be like a 3-man team, and then like a 2-man team. It's like I don't know who these guys are.
It was a real throwing shit against the wall
and hoping something.
Sticks.
I mean, Michael Cole seems like he's wanted out for a while, or at least to like have less of travel or more of a senior role.
I can't imagine what kind of therapy Michael Cole has to I'm thinking 4 or 5 times a week. It's got to be like his therapist for mental health, not because of what currently is happening, but because of the 25 years of Vince McMahon in his ear while he's trying to call a show.
Right.
I can't even imagine how it's giving me anxiety right now just thinking about that situation, let alone it happening. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention about the only other thing I wanted to mention about the press conference. I don't even know if that's the kickoff whatever thing. Is how super weird it was to have Triple H come out and master of ceremonies, the opening thing. That's to be expected. It's Triple H. He's the guy running creative. So yeah, you have him come out and do it. But then he did a rundown of the history of WrestleMania, and just because we've seen that done so many times, and every single time we've ever seen that before today. It was, and then Vince McMahon had this brilliant idea. He had this baby that he was going to invest everything in, and that lone man, was his vision, and he risked everything to make it happen. WrestleMania it's the Vince show.
Yeah.
And to not hear Vince McMahon's name uttered in a pretty lengthy rundown of the history of WrestleMania was just weird.
Like you just said, they'll gaslight you to death.
Yeah,
we won't. My nephew and niece won't even know who Vince McMahon is by the time they get to be our
Chris
age.
Benoit never existed. Yeah.
Who dat? What was the main event of who won? I love when I might have said this last time, but when they say only three people have won it at number 1 in the Royal Rumble, and they're like Shawn Michaels. Anyway, back to the match.
Yeah. They don't gaslight you on the number.
Yeah.
They just then move past it real quick in a really odd way.
Look, squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. That's that, but and that's going to happen now. Obviously, that's what they're doing going to do with the Vince stuff, and and we don't even know what the full fallout of the fucking Triple H might get indicted or something.
He looked ill.
I think since the whole thing,
I don't think
the Vince thing has happened.
Yeah,
Triple H looks worse and worse. He looks like Ed Norton and towards the end of Fight Club. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be, even if he doesn't get implicated in, and I really think he's probably gonna, even if he doesn't, it's still oh Jesus, to be.
Well, look, by proxy, Brock, I don't know if you saw that, not only is he not welcome back in the WWE pretty much, but he's openly said he's not even interested in trying to come back. So he's done. He's done. And they're pulling him. They pulled him off the cover of the new video game.
Yeah.
They're in the process.
And I think they clearly had planned. I think it was Gunther, right? I mean,
yes.
That was the obvious thing to do.
They're asking Gunther to step up now to kind of assume the Brock role, which, what do you mean step up? He was fighting Gunther. So, again, I said it last time, I think Braun Breaker should be the guy that takes the title off him at Mania. And that makes the most sense for sure. There's nobody else that makes sense. They're trying to, I don't know. Jey Uso can go away. He can go to AEW. There's just nobody left. I don't know. I'm trying to think of every fun thing that could happen at WrestleMania, and
I feel like a week ago I had 1,000 ideas,
and they're all.
And now I'm no, how are we going to put a card together?
No idea.
How did that happen? And I mean, I know how it happened, but how did that happen so fast?
It happened quick,
out of nowhere. Quick. Now I have no idea what they're like. I'm excited for Rhea, Becky.
That'll be fun.
And anything else? The Bayley stuff I talked about last week. I'm big on Bayley, and I like that they're, I don't like the way they did it, but I like to turn her. That's great. But what else now? Where did all those options go to? It disappeared, thin air, all of a sudden.
We'll see.
Yeah, Triple H looks like he's
sickly.
Yeah, he looks like the defendant, when you see the defendant in a televised court thing, he's
gonna be.
Yes, I think probably.
But with the WrestleMania thing, my buddy James, shout out to James, had a
what's up, James?
James, he had a really smart comment, which is rare for him. No, I love you, buddy. I love you. He said for the
fuck
first
that shout out, James.
We take it back. He said, "When's the last time we didn't know what was going on going into WrestleMania by now?" Yeah,
well, that's part of the reason, exactly, and that's part of the reason why I think they don't know, because they like to have a much of lead time. Oh, right? So that. Well, like you said, if this was a plan, it probably would be a cool thing that they were doing.
Really good.
But they hate not having. They want every advertising second that they can get
Right.
for that main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, at least historically, forever. The only time I can remember is it not happening was with like literally the Daniel Bryan forced the hand of the change. But that's another gaslight. They go back in time and say, "Oh, it was booked that way from the beginning." And I was not. I was there. I remember it. You did not do that. But that's the only other time that I can remember them not doing like, "Oh, let's milk every second of advertising we can out of the WrestleMania main event."
So I guess let's just enjoy it because it's so rare. Maybe every decade.
I want to enjoy it
because they did it. Come to think of it, they did it at 10 because the plan was Luger to go over.
Yeah,
and then he was not doing well, so they put Brett over. Did it happen at 20? Did they have like plans to do something? And then Benoit and Guerrero.
I don't think that was like a in the works, like a Batista thing. Yeah, I think it was those guys are like just
undeniable.
It felt weird because it was like the work rate guys, and it never had been like the 5'10" work rate guys that carried those titles or main event at WrestleMania. So it feels like a thing that would have been like a shoehorned thing, but I think that was actually a plan, a longer But
then like you said, 30, and then it seems like now 40 where they're pivoting. So every decade, I mean, they're pretty consistently changing plans.
In the past, it didn't have a multinational, super famous dude that might be tied to advertising dollars already. So
let's hope he does because Batista came in with all the fanfare last time, and he did the right thing, and he is now a better actor. And you think he makes more than The Rock, acting wise?
I don't, but I think he could.
But
I think he takes Guardians.
Money?
I'm sure Guardians money is crazy. Yeah,
but
I think he takes a lot of interesting smaller roles, which I guess that's where my head went. Is like he actually takes acting challenge roles.
He was the only good part about that horrific M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, and I like, that book was good too. I was very excited. I'm like, okay, M. Night, he's a good director. He always has been a good director. Like he has visually, his movies are almost always like stunning. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I read this book. This is a good book. And then that movie was dog shit outside of Batista.
But he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
But he did.
And Cena's better than Rock too.
Cena's better than Rock. He's funny.
Rock's better than Hogan, at least.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna love Suburban Commando until
sure. Yeah.
I don't want to meet the man who doesn't. Did you watch Dynamite?
Did I watch Dynamite? Whoo, doggy! Boy, am I excited to be able to talk about something that I am excited about. Right. So happy. So going into this Dynamite, and if you listened last week, you know that I just my general feeling about my favorite promotion, AEW, in 2024 is it's fine. Is that they're on the upswing, that they've at the very minimum recognized, which was my biggest worry, that they weren't recognizing it, recognized what the pitfalls that they were falling into from all through 2023, half of 2022, really, if we're being honest, and all of 2023, they are moving away from those bad habits and ideas and moving back towards, I know Tony Khan has said specifically this is going to be the new 2021, but he's, to me, is making the effort to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, leading into this particular Dynamite, when we saw the card that was happening and they finally, are the ticket sales for it was a rockin' house, sold out, first time in a long time. Card looked absolutely stacked. Pay-per-view level card top to bottom, but there's always the risk in those situations that on the night, it was good, but it didn't quite it was especially with 2023 in mind, for example, the Last Winter Is Coming, I think was the when Joe and MJF had their first match.
Right.
It was a great match.
Right.
But it was it looked great on paper, and the match was a real good match.
Sure.
But I didn't feel anything for the show at all. Yeah. And there's always that risk for going into a big hyped up, and this was hyped up show. And I think I felt it. I felt it for the first time probably since back when they were firing on all cylinders. In my soul, I felt it. I'm very excited for the future of the company, particularly the top of the card. part of the company.
Yeah.
A lot of different things, but yeah, top of the card stuff. Like may as well start at the start of the show. They telegraphed basically what was what the finish was gonna be by doing this as the opener. But they did Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland in their third match to decide who's going to be number one contender. By putting that on first, they'll start shows with like their lead off with the banger kind of thing. But if it's like a huge thing like number one contender amongst your two of your most over guys, if they put that on first, and there also is like a storyline reason that it might end up in a draw, it's like definitely gonna end up in a draw.
Right.
That's why it's going on first. And it's still the result of it, I still was happy. I liked the draw. I generally like that AEW's brought time limit draws back. Can't think of one that I have not liked that they've done so far. But like this one was super telegraphed, so it could have gone terribly.
Right.
But like I didn't know they were gonna do a Brett Stone Cold on me. Like talk about understanding what direction your audience is going in.
Right.
They were way ahead of the curve on that one, because so what happened was Hangman comes out to like a mixed reaction initially. Upon intros, Swerve just super over. Swerve comes out, and last week Swerve soft started his face turn by saying, Prince Nana, you can't. I don't want any involvement from you guys. I want to win this match clean. And Hangman has been kind of in the background, has been becoming more and more obsessed with he can't see any success from Swerve. He it is superseding everything else in Hangman's life. Is I can't. This guy can't win. No matter what happens, he can't win. I hate him this much. So they, in the meantime, Swerve is getting over like The Rock in '98 or something. Mixed reaction for Hangman, big cheers for Swerve. And then when the match starts, it's like very clear crowd, boo, yay, Hangman is the heel.
Right.
But the thing that I loved and was surprised by pleasantly, it was cool to see that they're back to being maybe the thinking or the listening. They used to call themselves the listening company. Maybe that is another direction they're going back in, because Hangman worked this match totally as a heel.
100%.
He did Swerve was working from underneath the entire time. Hangman was doing, mocking to the crowd kind of stuff. He, at one point he, hits Prince Nana with the chair that was unprompted. That's not babyface type of stuff. And then the coup de grace of what was essentially a double turn was, so it goes to the time limit draw, and then Swerve does the one of the best things about the MJF Cole feud was the 5 more minutes, and you'd think it's Swerve who's asking for 5 more minutes. He's like, I can't end this way. We need 5 more minutes. And up until now, Hangman Page, he's paragon of virtue, like in AEW. That's what he is.
Right.
He's the last guy that would refuse that. And he refused it because he's like, no, laughing in his face.
Mocking,
more important to me that you fail than I succeed.
Right.
And it's like a logical way to turn Hangman, who I thought was going to be impossible to turn heel, and have it make sense.
Right.
It makes sense. Like Swerve did awful things to him, and like Swerve, some redemption. He hasn't done anything great yet, but people just love him. But that kind of happened naturally, and that happening naturally. This was the way to do it with Hangman. It would make him crazy. It would make him crazy to see the guy that broke into his house.
Yeah. So these are. I have a few questions. One, I like the man, despite being a Hangman Adam Page hater for so long because of the nonsense he put CM Punk through.
Yeah, whatever.
The nonsense that he put CM Punk through. If you're watching us online and you could see the camera that Billy mentioned a second ago, or you're just listening, you're going to have to trust me. I have cut my beard down to highlight my mustache because it is an honor of how much I enjoyed this.
It's looking good too. It's better than mine. I efforted the same thing last week, and I got to say you pull it off better.
I just started from a more bushy place. I'd like
Sure.
a bushier beard so I could take it
Thanks.
down.
That's nice, but you are just more handsome than I am as well. It's fine. You're
gonna hear.
I brought you in. I brought you in for your looks. That's,
on the audio podcast. Handsome Dan.
I have to put pictures up somewhere.
I don't. Okay, so because I disliked him for so long, I kind of tapped out in AEW. Also, like as you've said several times, it hasn't been very good for a while, and I don't know why. You have to explain this to me. Why is Hangman the bad guy in a storyline where a guy broke into his house and was hanging out with his baby?
Well, that's the thing is like and
the guy being
when
Swerve.
wrestling is going good, it isn't always necessarily good guy, bad guy. I think there is a inherent difference between good guy, bad guy, and face heel.
But why don't I like Hangman when he was the one that was
because
the home invasion
now
happened to him?
He's trying. The only thing he cares about is stopping the guy that
it's on the heels of that
we love, that everybody loves.
Right,
wants to do the dance, that wants to cheer for Swerve because it's cool. Because he's cool. That's what happens in wrestling. The cool heel. That's the best way to become a huge babyface is be the coolest heel.
Break into the guy's house,
and then when that happens, he hasn't, and Swerve hasn't done anything to redeem himself really.
No,
except now I'm going to behave like a babyface. But I'm fine with that. And then the most logical way to turn Hangman heel, even if it's not necessarily bad guy.
Yeah.
Is to make it like an obsession thing, and that's what it makes sense that he would be obsessed.
So this is a Hart Austin kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's exactly that. I'm this. You said it best. This paragon of virtue, and then you got this guy that's being a dick.
Exactly. Austin never did anything really to become a babyface.
No,
he's
just
badass.
his character,
he's awesome.
Yeah.
He just be awesome. That's the same thing Swerve's doing.
Absolutely.
Just be awesome. But yeah, the show opened with that. So it was like a 30-minute time limit draw. That was I've watched that match 3 times. By the way, well, I still think I think it was probably the least of their 3 matches,
right?
And it was still 5-star match to me. Those 2 dudes can, as far as I am concerned, be lifelong.
Yeah,
attached at the hip. 3 years down the line, they'll do the thing where they're doing an 8-man tag on their opposite sides, and when they get in the ring together, people are going to go apeshit just because they're so intrinsically tied now, I think, to each other. But yeah, it was a great match. It wasn't Texas Death and it wasn't Wrestle Dream, but it was awesome.
Right. To their credit, for as terrible as they are with production, and they are really inconsistent with production, this match went 30 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I made sure to time it.
I didn't check until I did. I'm a nerd. And I always watch Dynamite twice, but I went back and watched Dynamite essentially 2.5 times, and then that halftime, that half a watch, I checked the time and I was
so they were right on the money.
They're on the money,
which is cool. 2 other things. One, Swerve, you had mentioned at the top of the show. Swerve has the best buckshot lariat in wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he landed.
That was
it was just, I don't know.
We were both wrong last week when we were doing the Logan Paul and Hangman.
We didn't see it yet.
Yeah, we didn't know it existed, but we were wrong.
We didn't know. We didn't listen.
And by the way, officially, Swerve Strickland is now banned from Collision.
What do you mean?
Remember the Punk stuff?
Oh.
Anytime anybody would cross Punk, it was banned from Collision.
Sure, that's fair.
So it's just
Also, too, Page needs to stop doing if he's going to be a heel, he needs to stop doing top rope moonsaults and shit. He worked.
Are you talking about the Arihara moonsault?
Is that what it's called?
I have no idea what makes his moonsault an Arihara moonsault.
If my video game knowledge is. What's the one where you pray, you cross your hands?
I remember that. I remember that.
Oh, that's an acai.
That's an acai moonsault. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't mean to misspeak.
Hangman's. I thought for a long time it was maybe the fact that he usually does it to the outside,
right.
But no, they call it still the Arihara moonsault when he does it to the apron or
whatever. He needs to stop doing that completely.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Hangman, I've seen him work heel pre-AEW, and he's good at that too. He's good at everything he does, really.
He worked a really good match as a heel. I'm not saying that, but he just has to be. Ground himself.
I don't think that I think he's going to be great heel, situational for this, and I don't think but I don't think this is going to lead to a big long Hangman heel run. I don't know. I don't think they're going to decide that. I think Hangman is going to be much like Swerve,
right?
like, yeah, he's a heel, but like, even if we get rid of the moonsaults and stuff, this dude's pretty awesome, and we recognize that, and the fans are gonna.
But his boys are turning heel, so like,
yeah, but they are much better at like.
We'll get to that.
Being
we'll get to how great they are.
Pieces of shit, you know.
So I have more questions than ever coming out of this. After last week, we talked about the eliminator rules, the ranking rules. So they said now that there was a tie. I'm sorry. Yeah, time limit draw. That it's going to be a triple threat match. Did they both go into that match with the same record?
I don't know about the record, but they did go in as 1 and 2 in rankings. So I mean, like at least that part of it made sense. Swerve was the number 1 ranked male wrestler, non-champion,
right?
And Hangman was number 2. So the reason that they were able to advertise that as like whoever wins this is going to be because it would logically be whoever wins this is going to be.
So let's assume they had the same record.
Yeah, then, right? Like wins and losses, and who knows if they're weighted, right. Like
that was my next question.
Evil Uno is it the same
strength of schedule shit?
Yeah,
like if,
which I like. That's why I said I don't need the rankings to be.
But if they're exacting. But let's be consistent. If they're going to present them as being sports oriented, that's how it works. Sports
oriented, but not sports exact. Like,
fine.
I like. Give me at least the wave in the direction of, okay, if this guy's ranked, moving up the rankings, it's got to be because he's got a win streak happening. Right. But I'm not going to get like into the weeds about, he's 3-0 and this other dude's 4-0 and should be higher. Just nod in the direction of like not.
Do a good enough job.
Not thinking I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
And I'm okay. Just don't WWE it. Don't think that I'm stupid.
Right.
And like start from there. I'm good with the rankings being.
Also, too, this did from a storyline perspective. You can offer a little bit of forgiveness if they did. Sure. If it's not to a T perfect. So that was good.
I also think the main event of the pay-per-view for the first time is going to be a tag team match. So.
Wait, why?
Because Sting is retiring, my man.
I'm like, who's joking?
And the only other time that the heavyweight championship was not defended in the main event of AEW pay-per-view was when they did a multi-man, was with the 4 pillars. So that's why I think they're doing a multi-man here, too. I mean, the story-wise, it makes sense.
Also, All Out, which I attended, which was a meaningless 8-man match.
Yeah. That was the title wasn't defended on that at all, right? Because it was post All In?
They were tagged... Yeah, they were tag champs still. They defended the ROH tag title.
Yeah, so like I guess what I intended to say was like every time.
I know what you meant.
Aside from once, that the title was defended.
You're talking about the.
And it's not going to be the main event. I got to close with Sting.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, it's literal last Sting. Match. What was the other thing I had? One more thing about the eliminator thing. So if I lose an eliminator match, I'm out. I can't. So like Samoa Joe, he has an eliminator match against Swerve. Mm-hmm. He beats Swerve. Swerve can't challenge him while he's champion still, right?
Not on that reign.
So
if he lost it and
then it resets.
Got it back,
Wouldn't it be in Joe's best interest to have matches with everyone in his division? And when he inevitably wipes out his entire division and there are no more challengers, who beats him?
Yeah, but that is also then presupposing that everybody would agree to, and Samoa Joe as the character that he is currently, I don't think a lot of people would be like lining up to face Samoa Joe and potentially like eliminating me from, especially when you don't need to have the eliminator match to get a shot at the title. Like maybe my best shot is just one crack at this dude because he's a killer. Right. You know. By the way, Joe's promo after he's so goddamn awesome.
He's great.
Like. That's exactly how angry you would be in real life if you were the champ, like this dominant champ, and then they are now putting you in a situation with triple threat, totally unfair to Joe. Like, and he's one of the first guys I've ever seen that like reacted to that appropriately. He was like, "Fuck you, I hate you," like looking down the lens of the camera at like Tony Khan. I know I'm not the champion you want, but it's not your decision to make because I'm a badass motherfucker.
He was talking shit. I liked when he said, we're elevating mediocrity.
Yeah,
now.
Absolutely.
It's a great line.
He's unbelievable.
No,
like I mean, there's honestly not an outcome of that match that I would hate. Because like Joe, whatever. If you want to have a long term, like I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
keep it on Joe.
Because they got to
when was it? September last year?
They got to get to Ospreay. That's all. That's like where you can map this out to when.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I assumed it was going to go Joe, Swerve, and then Ospreay. It
has to.
But that was also my assumption was Swerve, heel Swerve, because Ospreay is going to be a huge babyface. I mean, I guess they don't have to do face heel like dynamic for that match, but like now after Dynamite yesterday, like there's another option. Like Hangman could pin Joe.
Yeah. And
then Hangman's the champ, having never beat Swerve, who's like the current probably biggest babyface in the company, and he's got that hanging over him. And I am always a proponent of, I think in any wrestling company, you should have a world champion that's a babyface for like about 2 months out of the year. And I think it should be a heel, like be chasing, get that moment where they win it, and then like lose it pretty quickly after, and then heel. Yeah. So like that could
microdose happiness.
Yeah. So and if like the trend that we're looking at happens, that kind of goes babyface. If it's then as a Swerve and like a debuting Will Ospreay who's. People are going to go, it doesn't matter what he does.
Right.
Even if he works like he did in that Michael Oku match I was talking about from Rev Pro, where he's like, punching the guy's girlfriend or whatever. People are going to cheer for him because he does the most amazing moves I've ever seen in my life. So he's going to be a babyface even if it's situational.
But they also haven't done the babyface to babyface championship transition.
Yeah, no, they haven't changed belts. They did MJF and Cole.
Yeah, but
the title didn't change.
But they were like, I don't know. Oh yeah, the title didn't change. So
but I think it was the best thing they did. Like as a story, it was the best thing they did in 2023. It was obviously flawed, especially after Cole went down. But like at All In, when they did that thing, it was something I'd never seen before. When they did the friend thing, I'm like, I've never seen this in wrestling, and it was really good. It was done well.
So then
the wheels fell off.
The wheels fell off. The tendons fell off.
Yeah.
I don't know how your TV had it, but one of my local advertisements was for J.G. Wentworth, and they did not sing the song.
No 877 cash now?
No, it was just called J.G. Wentworth.
For our local Chicago listeners?
Yeah. They're like, how do you scrap that song? It's like McDonald's scrapping.
Yeah, like now I'm like it's just running through my head now.
Yeah,
over on a loop just because you mentioned it.
Yeah, I'm in a structured settlement and I need cash now. Call J.G. Wentworth. They're just like, call J.G. Wentworth and 877 cash now. It's like, what are you doing?
That's terrible. Well, but
it looked like it was made in a PowerPoint. Like, did they lose all their budget?
Did they have much of a? Where would J.G. Wentworth have? I mean, they wrote the jingle 30 years ago and then have used it for 30 years. So, like,
it's been around that long.
I'm pulling that out of my ass. I have no idea.
Like Eagle Man?
But I don't see commercials in my life outside of some sports things.
Yeah.
Even most sports things, like I watch Bulls games, but I will DVR those so I can.
Is the weather cold in your ivory tower?
I mean, like, my ivory tower of I start Dynamite at 7:40 instead of at 7. Yeah. So it gives me enough time to not have to watch commercial breaks.
Oh, one thing.
Or I know I don't do this personally, but I know a guy who has a VPN and then uses Fight TV or Triller now it's called, but Fight TV to watch what is essentially ad-free Dynamites, where you get the commentary that is the best commentary on the show.
Because
they're off camera and they can say whatever they want. And it gets very, very funny.
Right.
I've heard from them, people that I've talked to that do that.
Through the grapevine. One thing we didn't touch on, which is at the top of the show, is this Dynamite was sponsored by Ric Flair's energy drink. Did you catch the tagline?
No.
Says, to be the man, you need a can.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
To be the man, you need a can. And
that is...
It made me smile during the Swerve Hangman match to just see that caricature of Ric Flair.
The Ric Flair caricature always makes me smile. Every time it's up there. Like, when they first signed him on, I was like, oh, no, this is another bad move in a series of bad moves.
Right.
But then that caricature thing went up, and I was like, maybe it's not a bad move.
Yeah.
This is making me giggle every time I see it.
I don't know. I would like a can because I would like to be the man. That's all.
Yeah. I bet you Ric Flair's energy drink tases like alcohol. Rhinoceros ball sweat. Yeah, oh yeah, it's probably just like the unused Four Loko that they had to, like, when they made it illegal. They just Flair probably just bought that up and repurposed it, or his people
making bathtub mint juleps out of his leftover booze. Calling it an energy drink.
It is kind of funny that they they Me Too Ric Flair because of Dark Side of the Ring doing a story that every wrestling fan on earth knew like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like he's canceled now. Like
he gets
everybody do that.
But he gets canceled every like 6 months.
Yeah.
And then he's like gotten other people fired for longer than he has been reprimanded.
Because he's Ric fucking Flair, man.
Yeah, it's
jet riding, limousine, or jet flying, limousine riding.
just stealing, wheeling, dealing.
Yeah, Rick. He's Rick goddamn Flair.
Yeah.
The last Hangman Swerve thing, again, to my point about like AEW paying attention, even on commentary, like you can, by contrast to like Raw when it was unclear, like Pat McAfee was pro Cody on Raw, and then at the thing today he was like pro Rock. It was up in the air. Like the AEW very clearly understood what direction they were going in and what they expected the fans to do. Excalibur saying blatantly the crowd tonight is 90-10 Swerve. Like it wasn't like wasn't mixed. Oh, it's weird because of this situation, or they love Swerve. So like Hangman is getting a few boos or whatever. It was like very clearly he's the heel and he worked heel, and the commentary crew like called the match as such. Like that was cool too. Just wonderful little touches.
It's continuity.
Yeah, continuity, and like
in the company I wasn't expecting.
And something I will touch on with the main events of the show as well. The thing that made me fall in love with AEW to begin with was always their attention to detail. Like leading into stories, these little hints here and there that always the continuity made sense. And it would also be like little hints that if you're paying attention, it would be like kind of shout outs to the fans that, like me, the psychos that are watching the show twice, picking up on stuff. There's a reason why I was able to, and credit myself here, I called MJF Punk was going to be a dog collar match like a month or something before they did it. Because I'm like, they're dropping Greg Valentine, Roddy Piper stuff everywhere they can, like not just the direct mentions that they did in promo stuff, but they were hints all over the place. And like that's AEW at its best, in my opinion. Like that's the defining thing for AEW is like those that attention to detail, like Bryan Danielson match, attention to detail. Like every little thing adds up to a big great thing.
Well, and to your point, they're catering to the hardcores. And you got to have some of those. You got to reward the people that watch.
But they didn't for a year or so.
But you saw it, right? I'm learning about it right now, hearing you say it. I didn't pick up on it. But like if you've watched those matches 40 years ago, like this is fun for you now. But you can't alienate the regulars that are trying to become a diehard. Yeah,
well, I think they're doing a pretty good job.
They're doing better now than they have since Christmas Miracle.
I don't think there's like a barrier to entry like there would have been.
One thing they could have done is reviewed the feud a little bit. Top of the hour, they omitted because Tony Khan said it was going to be overrun. He's like, set your DVRs, this is going to overrun. And it did not overrun, by the way.
And I love that what the overrun would have been for had it overrun.
I did check. It went to 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Yeah, no, it didn't. I knew it didn't because I didn't have to go. Cause usually if I set my YouTube TV DVR, if I just watch it through that, I'll miss the end of the show if it overruns, and I have to go to Fight TV or whatever. Right. And that didn't happen.
Sure.
So
and that was with omitting the.
By the way, side note, I wonder how much Big Bang Theory I have now watched in my life in 4-second snippets. Because that every single time I start my DVR Dynamite every week for the last several
you're
years.
Usually seeing the punchline of an episode-long arc.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see
something that doesn't make any sense, and then the big crowd laugh.
So that's kind of a nice.
It's Wednesday night.
It's a nice segue into what I'm about to say. So you're at the end of the Big Bang. You're like, oh, this whole episode was built up to have this callback punchline. Whereas I would have loved some reference to the match I'm about to watch. Right, so if they're like, so like,
and I think there are some bad fake actors that do I don't know who this guy is. They didn't tell me. Like, some people are. I roll my eyes and I'm like, don't play dumb. Like, you're a wrestling fan, you know what this. But I agree with you that this kind of thing, do a little recap because this is a great story.
It was also a big match. It's been going on for a long time, and a lot of the matches were on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
were both of them on pay-per-view?
Because it was Wrestle Dream,
Right.
and then it was
So
the
it's
Texas
things,
step.
it's things I would say a fair amount of your audience hasn't seen.
Yeah, and even like as a person that very much saw and loved the first two matches, it would still help me
Right.
to feel more,
Right.
to like have a little recap of that stuff.
You omitted the intro, light the fuse, bring the boom. There wasn't that. It was
Yeah.
a cold open with pyro. Put a little recap.
Yeah.
Show 'em, because then right after the recap, they got them walking to the ring and they should just steal the WWE.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate
Dun,
that.
dun, 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 dun,
It's
dun.
yeah.
They should steal
that.
that.
That is good.
But aside from that, kudos.
Yeah, I have like
which I wasn't
one
expecting.
tiny note about the in ring, and this is like real nerdy, nitpicky. But like, it's one of the reasons that I still am a fan of John Moxley, even though like they need to change that character. Because Mox, like the thing that I'm about to nitpick, Mox never makes this mistake. In the Hangman Swerve match, the table spot, the table collapsed, and then Swerve kind of had to scramble to like go all the way around the ring to find another table to set up,
Right.
but then didn't use that immediately, so it didn't make any sense.
Right.
So like, and like the very, very, very best guys, Moxley's, the Danielsons of the world, MJF, like even when they have to make a spur of the moment decision, it makes sense in the narrative, like
Right.
within the fictional world. It didn't make sense for Swerve to set up to like look around the ring for 20 seconds for a table that he was
It
going to
did-
set up to immediately abandon.
It looked like a video game
Like
where you
it-
had a table that was not set up next to a table that was set up, and they were right next to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you went to go get a bowl of popcorn, you come back like, why are there two tables here?
But
how
yeah,
come one
yes,
is on the ground?
exactly. And like the second table didn't really want to break either. But that was my, real nitpicky. If I'm being super specific,
Yeah.
like I could not, like I'm never going to do Raw matches that nitpicky because
Right.
the show would go on forever.
Yeah.
But like those two are so good together. Their chemistry is so perfect
Yeah.
together that, like. That's the thing that kept it from being as good as the Wrestle Dream or
Sure.
I mean,
for
no blood drinking is what kept it from being as good as the
a free
Texas
TV
Death.
match, it was about as good as
It's insane.
beginning.
That's another reason I like.
was
I
another
love
level.
AEW is like they put stuff on free
And it
TV.
wasn't a spot
they put Kenny
fest.
Omega and Bryan Danielson on free TV.
Sure. Right. Some of these things get out of control, which we'll talk about shortly, but it was a proper wrestling match.
Tons of psychology. I mean,
Yeah,
there
there
was
were no,
very
like-
classic like.
There were. I don't get why he went to the top for a third time. I guess like, I don't know. If I'm him,
Because he was having a hard time putting him away, and he was like, "I gotta."
but his
I need
ankle
to-
was hurt, and like he knew when he was
Yeah,
going to
even
land.
Swerve the babyface thing too, like working with the injury.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then Hangman, who does not use an ankle lock,
Right.
immediately when Swerve we saw Swerve roll the ankle. The next move was his, a counter that
Right.
into an ankle lock.
I
I'm like,
rewound it.
I love AEW.
I rewound it
I love
right
Hangman
away
Page.
to see if he saw it. Because I wanted to not like certain things about this so badly that I was looking for things to not like. Because it was so good. I'm
Yeah.
like, what did they fuck up? And it was
Well, I
very,
mean, like I'm.
So
we
hang
talked
on
about
really quick. So the camera.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The camera went to Swerve. It was a tight shot of his ankle, and then the camera didn't show where Hangman's eyeballs
Yeah.
were. And then when they did pan out, he was looking at him. So I'm like, oh. So he saw it. Whereas if he wasn't positioned the right way, and that's a production
Yeah.
thing, but that's little fucking
Hangman's
details
a
that
wrestling
count.
genius, my man. I mean, he just is.
Do you not
I mean,
see
your
my
boy,
mustache?
Yeah.
Do you not see my mustache?
Like another wrestling genius, CM Punk. Like he's another guy that like he's not maybe not as athletic. You see Buckshot Lariat,
I mean,
but
maybe.
But yeah, I'm trying to be generous. But like when it comes to detail, I mean,
Yeah.
he is like the guy the reason that I love the detail stuff from AEW
Totally.
is because I fell in love with CM Punk in 2011 or whatever, like prior to that.
Right.
So that's why I like this stuff now. Like,
Yeah.
and as much as like, hey man, maybe I didn't want to take advice from CM Punk, but like, yeah, but the detail stuff you're doing, a lot of that stuff is
Sure.
CM Punk stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's that kind of thing. Making sure your eyes are in the right place.
Right.
You're reacting appropriately in character at all times.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, that little stuff. That's what makes it just
It went well.
feel great.
It went well.
Yeah. From there,
And after JG Wentworth, was,
after JG, yeah, after my DVR,
what was it?
the women's match, I'm happy that they were in the first hour because usually for the history of AEW, they they love putting the women in the death spot,
Yeah.
prior to main event spot. Like, this isn't great because the crowd's gonna be a little tired coming off a Swerve and Hangman.
Yeah.
But like, Red Velvet, I thought worked a pretty solid match. And like, I like that they're telling a story with Toni Storm. Toni Storm beat Red Velvet, but she did so in a way she abandoned her like usual power game, her style, her general style, and because she's trying to prove to Deonna Purrazzo that like, oh, I can do the grapple fuck stuff too. So like, she won with a submission, which no, she doesn't really ever do. And if they want to like change belts at the pay-per-view, like, it's believable to me now that like that delusional Toni Storm,
and then Deonna Purrazzo is going to be black and white for wherever she goes.
Yeah,
and whoever holds the title, it turns into Pleasantville. Like, that's just the life.
If it was WWE, that shit would.
Was that an
eliminator
eliminator
belt would
match?
Spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
So they did mention something we were asking about last week. Can you go to the Force and hump boars in ROH? And they said yes, you can.
Yeah.
So ROH is just fodder. It's just to gain wins.
And you have to leave that.
Right.
I hope they don't like abuse that, but you need
ROH's
something.
Purpose, I'm fine with that.
I hope they.
If
it's not like, I was like, kill ROH, or okay, fine, use it as fodder for this. It's a good thing for it. There's a third option now because the TNA president's getting fired after like everybody that loves him.
Yeah.
Like Moose, I was tweeting out that like, I only signed because of him. You could grab him and put him in charge of ROH, but you have to separate the companies then.
They're not going to do that.
And I don't think they are.
No.
So it's fodder, I think, is probably the best possible outcome.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't watch it anyway. No. Like, and I'm a guy that watches Dynamite twice.
Can you watch it?
I watch Dynamite twice every week, and I don't watch Ring of Honor, so that should tell you. Yeah, exactly. Tell you how much Ring of Honor is on.
Can you watch ROH anywhere? Is it even televised?
It was on their Honor Club thing.
So I got to pay to watch something.
I think the last time I watched one was Briscoe Brothers and FTR. I mean, it was like they did twice. One was a pay-per-view. One was like I had to subscribe to their streaming nonsense for a month to get the match. And so I did it. But and it's unfortunate too because I think Athena and somebody I was talking about last week, Darth Vader's wife, Prince Amanada, are evidently going to have a match, and like Athena has evidently been killing it for like a year,
right?
And I say that like I know with authority, having not watched any of the matches because I don't watch Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
that's how irrelevant Ring of Honor is.
Right.
So like fodder's good.
Canon fodder.
Fodder's good.
That's fine.
But like that match is good. The women's division in general, it's looking strong for the first time ever for this company. Like there's stories being told, and not just like a gimmick, like with Timeless Tony. Like, yeah, that's a gimmick, but they're also telling the internal story of this person that I have a lot of history with. Now I feel like I need to prove to them that I can beat them on their terms.
Right.
And like the LTST long-term storytelling of like a real life thing, which I love that AEW does. We mentioned that last week too. Like that they bring real life into like the real histories of wrestlers into. And did you see the Bubba Ray Dudley? He's such a douchebag, intentional douchebag. He so like they did the thing where to show that Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo were like super tight back in the day. They showed on air that they have the same. They got matching ankle tattoos. So then Bubba was like, well, I don't know what that means. Like, oh, so you're not a human being.
Yeah.
You don't know that, like, just like, they might just be like, passing acquaintances. Like, you get matching tattoos with a passing acquaintance. Like, he's one of the bad faith guys, and I'm like, the AEW doesn't explain anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about when I say bad faith. Bubba, it's Bubba.
Yeah.
Like, you're not that stupid, dude. ECW, you're like one of the best mics I've ever seen in my life. Stop pretending you don't know what's going on for like your podcast. Like to drum up heat.
That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
That's all he's trying to do.
Exactly. And like your boy Corny does that a lot too.
Right.
That's what makes me crazy
I
about
love
it.
Jim Cornette.
I get real hot or real cold on him. Like I'm more often cold on him because of, he's working at all times. If I can be in like the mindset of like that's like I'm okay with it. Like if I get into that mindset and just watch them as it's work, I can sometimes enjoy it or listen to them. But like most of the time, it's just like, oh Jesus, dude, stop.
Yeah, take
a break. It's exhausting. Yeah. Like, everybody can't be MJF on all the time. No.
No.
But the to the women's division thing, like even their undercard, like Claudio just pointed out that the biggest workhorse in AEW over the last year is not Orange Cassidy, it's not Claudio. Those are the two men that have worked the most. Sky Blue has worked more matches than anybody else.
Right.
Like that shit wasn't happening like 2022 into most of last year.
No. And they're giving her stuff to do. She's not just like a generic.
Yeah, and she's improving in the ring, which she needed to. Like,
but they're pairing her with somebody like Julia Hart's not great, but like she's gotten a little bit better, and they're pairing her with her.
Julia Hart's got she's a loads of potential person, who has just charisma out the ass.
Yeah.
So like,
and a dope character.
And she understands the business clearly. She's got like Brody King and her who's. It seems like in real life has her back as like a dad kind of, teaching you about the business kind of person. And it seems like a good dude to have for that. But she has a good eye for it, good mind for it. She botches the shit out of stuff still regularly.
Yeah.
But like when stuff does go well, you can see the ceiling is going to be high.
Yep.
And like. She draws your eye. She's got the charisma. I'm being attractive. She also she draws your eye. She like.
I wonder why she draws your eye.
Yeah, well, I mean, beyond.
Her clothes don't fit.
Beyond. Hey, not sexist because.
It's not sexism. That's an observation.
It's wrestling is sexy though. Like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, she's
not everybody, but like it's a big part of wrestling. Men,
there's
women,
nothing derogatory I even want to say about her. She's a lovely young lady.
I just want to say I'm not objectifying a 20-year-old as a 44-year-old man. Like
I met her in person. She was doing an indie show at.
Did you touch her? Did you smell her hair?
No, I walked past her. She just wrestled. So
Did she smell as good as Kenny Omega?
She was. No, he smells like the ocean. I sat front row for a Dynamite. It was the first Dynamite after Punk debuted in Milwaukee. And when you sit front row, all the Mexican guys smell like Bengay. All the luchadors, they all.
I guess that makes sense. Like,
Kenny Omega smells like that sea salt spray you put like in your hair to like keep your curls tight.
I bet you that's just his body.
Delightful.
Kenny Omega is so wonderful that his body emits that fragrance just naturally. It's like his pheromone. It just comes out that way.
It was just. What is that?
Anyway, I'm sorry. I derailed you from the Julia Hart.
Oh, no.
But I'm glad I got the Kenny Omega story.
But that's it. And all the ladies smell like lovely ladies. They're doing great. But yeah, you get real close and you get everyone has a. When I saw in like a high school gym show and the Legion of Doom was wrestling. This was forever ago, and I remember thinking Hawk smelled like a stick of cinnamon gum.
It was probably like Fireball.
Before you knew what Fireball was, right?
As I was saying, but you Julia Hart cool in person?
Oh no, Sky Blue.
Oh, Sky Blue.
Yeah, I met Sky Blue.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I just walked by her. I'm like, great match. Like,
that makes more sense because she is a Chicago girl.
Thanks. She was really nice and. Just I didn't stop and like chat with her, but just like she was polite and she acknowledged me. So
she's a big Punk fan, so you guys would have that in common if you ever had to chat.
We already get the cult newsletter together.
Punk's got a weird number of young female wrestler fans.
The thing with him and Cora Jade is kind of it's a little much.
Yeah,
and he was bringing up Britt Baker a lot,
especially when you go back and watch that like old Ring of Honor interview that he did, talking about like the ring rats and
some things do not age well.
Maybe he's changed in that regard. I don't know anything specific about that.
All you can do is change for the future.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. You can't go change the past.
That's
but like the combo of that interview, and then like,
help.
Oh boy, there's a lot of Instagram photos of CM Punk right now. His 44-year-old ass with a 21, 22-year-old, very attractive, fit young ladies.
Yeah, who idolized him when he was younger.
AJ Lee, who I still have a giant crush on.
Yeah, I saw them walking because their condo is downtown, and you see them walking up and down their stairs all the time. There's a Taco Bell Cantina over there, which I've been to once or twice. I'm like, oh, there's AJ.
Is that you had Taco Bell cup with you last week on the pod? When you were you like staked out outside of AJ Lee's house?
Maybe we move on. Maybe we step. Maybe we don't admit to any crimes.
So then on to a match that I did not have any. It was I think this was the next match. I thought like going in it would be fine. Wasn't very excited about it on like an emotional level, and it ended up actually like over producing. Like it did at least a few things that I was not expecting. It was kind of cool. It's the BCC and the what is it? MLW? CMLL. That's right. A different wrestling promotion. But like I'm like we've talked at length in the past about the BCC in general. I have fatigue of them
they
as
don't
a
even
group.
Match.
And like
the gear doesn't even match.
Yeah,
they don't like each other.
I blame Jericho because they got together. They seemed like awesome. Like, oh, it's a faction of dudes that I love. It's gonna be amazing. And then they feuded with the Jericho Appreciation Society for a year.
Yeah,
it was like,
we've already talked about.
So it's been boring for a while, and like the crowd still goes fucking apeshit for Moxley.
Right.
He's just one of those guys that's always going to be over in the arena, especially if they play the Wild thing.
One thing I noticed, I haven't thought about in a while, one of his taglines is unscripted violence.
Yeah.
He is a professional wrestler. His job is scripted violence.
Well, but if you've read Mox, the book, the way that he likes to work matches is the very, very old school way where you call it on the fly.
Oh, it's still
so
scripted.
It would be unscripted.
The unscripted would be if he just jacked a guy in the mouth without telling him.
That would be like extra unscripted, but like
unscripted violence is real fighting.
I guess completely unscripted violence.
It took me completely out of the entrance. I'm like, his job is the thing he says he's not.
I can't. The thing that their catchphrasey thing that takes me out of it every single time is the death jitsu because I'm.
Do any of them know jujitsu?
I don't know, but death jitsu just is a very 13-year-old
cool
thingy, like, and they can be that way a little bit. Like in general, their whole vibe can be a little like edgelordy, like but
it's a bunch of old dads,
who like
death jitsu,
days shit like death jitsu. It's Stan Marsh like death jitsu. But going into the match, I'm like, okay, so it's got to be the death jitsu guys against some luchadors I don't care about, which unfortunately in general is usually my like thought about most luchadors. I mean, a lot of the Lucha Brothers, but like most lucha guys, and I'm like, am I racist? Why is this? And then in this match, I got an answer as to why I think that way, specifically about luchadors, and I got also the fix for this situation. I think the problem with luchadors in general in America and why lucha has not caught on like globally as much as like Western wrestling, British, Japanese. I mean, like all of those are big everywhere, and lucha is kind of just big with lucha. I think it's because most of the luchadors that Western audiences are used to seeing are only one style. They only do. I didn't even realize there were multiple lucha styles. Really, It's just like Ray Phoenix, but most people not as good as Ray Phoenix, but all doing the same, head scissors takeovers and like the same, and like the cap that you could hope for, it'd be like Vikingo. Like one, it helps because no mask makes you care more about somebody, but like that was the cap as far as lucha outside of the lucha world. I thought is like a guy that's just doing inhuman shit.
Right.
But in this match, it was like it was three dudes. I want to say I am officially a Hechicero head. I love that guy.
He's good.
But it was Hechicero.
He actually got a reaction.
Yeah,
he was the only one that got a reaction.
He didn't do the fire hands thing, the dope ass Mortal Kombat thing he did. But like it was, I think the three guys. Hopefully I'm getting these correct. Hechicero, I know that because I'm gonna get a T-shirt for Christ's sake. And then the other dude, the no mask guy, was Volador. And then Dorado was like the...
Is that Lindsay Dorado?
I think it's Lindsay Dorado.
Yeah.
But then Excalibur was only calling him Dorado, and I didn't want to sound like an idiot on the pod.
Yeah.
So I think it is.
I'll be the idiot.
It's just called him. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, I think Lindsay Dorado.
He fucked up such a big spot.
He did, yeah. But that's the problem with like doing that just lucha style is like, you're with margin for error.
But with non-luchador guys,
why the Bucks are so great, my man.
Right,
they don't botch that stuff ever. But like Hechicero's work, like... when I saw him last week, I was like, oh, there are lucha wrestlers that do grapple fuck. They do like Danielson type of stuff, and he full on like as good as like Danielson, Jack Sabre kind of stuff. That's where Hechicero is. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so I get this, and then that Volador guy, the no mask lucha guy, he's working like a striker match, like he's doing drop downs, like Moxley.
Striker. That's a hell of a week to quit sniffing.
Nice.
Yes.
What did derail? No, seriously.
Luchadors.
But he's doing like drop downs and shit like that, like kind of chain wrestling, but more of like a Moxley-esque style. So
it wasn't a standard Lucha Libre spot.
Yeah, and like maybe that is what the standard for Lucha is, and I just know what the standard for what we see in the Western world of Lucha. Maybe all we ever get is Rey Mysterio and Rey Fenix.
Right. But look at Rey Mysterio when he was younger. It was a spot fest. It was like him working with other awesome luchadors.
But all those guys in my mind, like Lucha, that like kind of translates to spot fest.
Yeah,
like that's how I always thought of it.
Which is fine,
but it's not. Obviously, after yesterday, I'm like, okay, that exists. I didn't know that it existed.
You're telling me for the first time I've ever heard there's more than one lucha style.
Well, I mean, Hechicero's not working the lucha style that I'd ever seen.
Yeah. He's like a better evil.
He doesn't even do a head scissors takeover. He does a cooler thing with the same move.
And they acknowledge it as
such. It's like, amazing. That leg drop thing is one of the coolest new things I've ever seen in wrestling. And like, and then I actually didn't hate like the way the match went either. I kind of wanted the lucha guys to go over, but the way that they did it was like the BCC's like, we're the wrestler guys, we're the hardcore, we're wrestlers, we're pro wrestlers, we can pro wrestle the shit out of anybody. And like the lucha guys who do these three different styles, so like good representation of the company that they're representing, they kind of out wrestled the BCC like throughout, and then fucking Cesaro's got to kick the guy in the balls to get the win. I'm like, that's kind of a little story. I like that. That's better than just the.
And it's week over week, and there's three other guys in the crowd.
I still don't know why they ran in to begin the thing, but like I can forgive that if they're gonna do stuff with it. Then
if they eventually get to it, it's when they just do it and abandon it, which this company is amazing for. Just bringing in a bunch of dudes that nobody knows.
Used to be back in the day. It used to be everything was paid off, which is why I'm hoping this is a return to form.
It's getting there. One thing I don't like about what they're doing with this match in particular, and a bunch of guys that are there. Daniel Bryan main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And now he's in a meaningless six-man tag match where he's feeding guys we don't know.
Brian Danielson does whatever he wants.
Understood.
He books himself.
But like, I always try to imagine that what if Bret Hart did this? Right, like if you have a guy that main evented WrestleMania, and he was
WCW did,
and that went well. But that's my point.
I mean, Bret wasn't booking himself, but he was
miserable the whole time. But like, put him in a generic ass 6-man tag match with no stakes, and he's got a feed for guys.
Yeah, but he's also Danielson also always has something going on. He's got I mentioned it last week. He's got the Kingston thing happening right now,
which is why
it's in addition to his 6-man bullshit.
Like no Kingston.
He's just a wrestling pervert. He just loves wrestling. He wants to be on every single show wrestling, and sometimes you got to put on multi-mans and shit to get him get his little rocks off.
That's the only thing I had a hurdle getting over.
That's what I'm a little worried about if Okada ends up coming to AEW, which I really
a meaningless 6-man with
that's what he is. That's what people don't realize about Okada. I think maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misreading the situation. But I think a lot of Western fans that are familiar, even the hardcores that are familiar with Okada, think that Okada just wrestles 28-minute. 7+ star whatevers. Most of what he does is Hulk Hogan-y stuff, and he's in like week to week TV. He's doing like 8-mans where he's really taking it easy on himself. And then when the big pay-per-views come up, he always steps to it and is great. But I think a lot of people, if Okada comes to AEW, people are going to be like, "Oh, is this guy washed?" Is he? No, that's how he works. Like
to be fair, I saw him. I was at Forbidden Door, the first one. I was there. And I saw him in the main event, and I'm like, it's a big fucking deal about this guy.
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
I don't feel it as much, and I'm somebody who absolutely loves the Omega matches.
Yeah.
Like those were the reason I started watching
Those
New
were
Japan.
the first ones that went over 5 stars.
Yeah. It was the first Meltzer break the scale. It defined what he can consider great matches going forward, basically. Yeah. And I love the shit out of those. One of my favorite, draws, 2 time-limit draws. Speaking of those, but like Okada in general, I think that a lot of his stuff is like cultural stuff that's not going to translate as well.
Yeah.
And I would honestly rather see him in WWE, not just for that reason, but like there's matchups there that I feel like I like crazy ones that I would never have thought of, and a lot of the AEW guys, the stuff that I've kind of seen with them, with AEW going over to Japan, or a couple of times that Okada's been here already, he's been in multi-man, so I've seen a lot of that stuff, and I don't think there's a lot of room at the top of the card right now.
No.
And Okada's not coming to America to be a mid-carder, I don't think. Not again. Not like TNA or
on the boats and on the planes.
Whatever.
He's coming to America.
Yeah. But I wish NJPW just had some money, because it would be best if he would have stayed there. Yeah. But they're losing him because of I can't tell you how many times it's amazing on pro wrestling message boards how often I have to hear about the power of the yen. Every time anybody talks about all the guys at JPW, like, the power of the yen, because the yen has no buying power right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it is economic reasons.
But also his wife's like a famous actress over
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
they're not hurting for cash.
His whole gimmick is money falling from the sky. Like
his entrance music is a coin.
Yeah.
It is a yen.
Yeah.
I'm so ignorant. Is yen a coin or a bill? Let's say bill?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably mostly done digitally anyway these days.
That's
down here, so we don't have to know. It's fine.
Bit yen.
Yeah.
What was one thing I had here? So one thing we skipped over is they announced that Orange Cassidy is wrestling Ishii. Don't know who the fuck that is.
Ishii? You've never heard Ishii? Really?
I had to Google
the Stone Bulldog.
I had to Google who he was.
See, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe maybe people are not as aware. Like he is a big deal in Japan.
But like if he went like this, all right, if he went to WWE, would anyone know who?
No, but no, like that's different.
But that's a different. That's how I think though. Like I don't watch New Japan or nothing. I know,
but you're a lifelong. I mean, we established that.
Yeah.
But you're a lifelong wrestling fan who obviously can talk very intelligently about like pro wrestling,
right.
not just like the business part, or not just the let's argue about who's like what as we prefer, but like the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
Usually, like I would consider a fan of your level to be pretty hardcore, even if you.
You're not hardcore unless you live hardcore.
Like, I guess. But like it's surprising. It's surprising to me that you like don't know Ishii. That was like Moxley. When Moxley first went over to Japan, was before AEW even, I think. That was his big.
I just know that Japan's like a destination that a lot of guys want to go to, so I know there's something to it.
Yeah.
And the guys that come back from it are usually better off.
It's going to... Jack Perry is... Yeah. It's a good...
I can't wait to see him.
They really need to send Hook over.
I need to send him money from my wallet. Jack Perry.
He's going to be working in Chicago soon.
Oh, God. Here, take $20 from my wallet. Thank you for getting CM Punk fired. And, like, making yourself kind of badass in the process.
Way more interesting. Way more interesting.
Right? Like, he ripped up the contract. He had the scapegoat armband on.
Badass beard.
I'm like, I want to know everything about you now.
Yeah, exactly. He was bland as hell.
Sure.
Before.
And he was starting to be interesting. And then, like, he went away. So, like, he's super appealing to me now. Once I found out who Ishii was, I realized again he was at Forbidden Door. I've seen this man wrestle with my own eyeballs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Duh. He is one of those guys like Tanahashi at least before Tanahashi became president of NJPW, where like past prime, still great, but past prime, so they're okay sending him over to eat pins.
Sure.
And it's still awesome matches.
And he's a name.
But he's going to eat pins and he's a name. Yeah, it's like an older name.
Right.
You eat pins.
So Orange Cassidy's wrestling him, so apparently the rankings don't fucking matter for whatever belt he holds, right? Because they're just, he's like, I guess.
So that's a good question. Are they going to continue the Orange Cassidy I take all comers thing?
Is he on the rankings?
Well, the champions are listed separately. The way that it is set up currently is that the rankings can apply to any title.
Right.
So, like any singles title, if you're the top ranked guy, you would be the top ranked guy for that title if you so decide to go after it. So, like anybody who is a champion is not among the ranked there because they are a holding champion.
Well, they have.
But I mean, OC's whole thing, like one of the better things in the darker days of AEW, where it was Orange Cassidy doing his true workhorse, like putting on 4-star floor matches every week with takes all comers, and it was his whole story. He was like got so beat up from taking all comers that it finally broke him.
You're right. So it's got the 4 champions listed.
New guy. I just told you I watched Dynamite 2 or 3 times a week.
You just said it was hardcore.
Gonna check the.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Also, Ishii to be found on here. Adam Copeland, Moxley.
He's not technically
Strong. Poor Roderick Strong, by the way, second best mustache now in AEW after the Hanger's got his.
I'm not sure. It's not like the fourth.
He's got like
the Bucks.
He's got. We'll get to that. Ass bags. Oh look, they put Timeless Tony Storm in black and white. But yeah, it's interesting to see how they're not including. Wait, was he even in that photo? So it's Joe. He's in the photo.
Ishii can't be ranked because he's not a
so how the hell
AEW wrestler.
He's getting a title match
because that international title is canonically his.
Then why is he not
can be defended by like in other promotions, other countries. It was supposed to make it the international title is that you can do that with it.
I liked better when it was the All Atlantic title. I thought that was a fun
I like the international title better, like the way it looks. I like it better, and I like it better because Orange Cassidy's first run with it was so dope that it made the title cool. But like now, it's I think it's starting to.
They fucked it though because he was supposed to be gone for a while. Moxley got hurt.
Yeah,
because Penta tried to kill him. I'm sorry, Phoenix tried to kill him twice in one match.
Phoenix,
And
when I was texting you guys, like I think Mox has got a concussion, and meanwhile Rick Knox is like he's good to go another 20 minutes.
No, he was certainly
I'm like
not good to go.
I'm a lay person, and I'm pretty sure he's got a concussion.
And then he drops him on his head at the end of the match, and you're like, oh, he's for sure.
Yeah,
he's for surely dead. But yeah, Orange Cassidy should still be gone. And when he came back, he could have been world title.
You know what though? I don't hate that they seem to be pivoting to something we were talking about before, like the total aimless nature of the kingdom, the Undisputed Kingdom.
Yeah.
Now at least they're it seems like they're doing we're going to be responsible for breaking up the best friends, which I'm fine with them breaking up the best friends. I have been for a long time.
Yeah.
I like already Statlander's got Stokely Hathaway going, which is improvement. Like I was ready for that to end, but that is at least something. It's not amazing, but it's something for them to put their mark on. Like we did this thing because
it's
post MJF, it's been like just nothing.
It's been also for the best friends. There's no personality in that fucking faction, and also they got that one guy. I guess he's in somebody had to explain to me what Roppongi Vice meant. I guess it's like a city.
That's one of the ones that I had to look up. Rocky Romero is like he's like the.
I don't know you. I don't want to know you.
He is the guy that like facilitates almost all of the back and forth with Japan. He's like Mr. I'm between Japan and America guy. That's what he's been forever.
Right. It's like the equivalent of a Nepo hire.
It's more like
the equivalent of it.
Not a wrestler as much as like an agent or something. Sure. Like it's
stay backstage and wear a suit. Then I'm tired of looking at you. I don't know why you're a best friend.
I actually agree with you.
I don't like.
I'm fine with Rocky Romero, but it's not needed.
It adds nothing.
And like you said, the no personality thing. Like that's one of the a little too indie even for my taste thing is the aloof Trent and
Chuck Taylor. He's
like
named after
we
a
don't
shoe.
care thing. Yeah. Like okay, I mean Orange Cassidy started with that, and he then because he's great, he developed it into like it became another thing, and then
he had 5-star matches.
Yeah, exactly, and like it developed the entire time he's been in the company. He's developed. Yeah. Chucky T and Trent are still the same. Like we indie guys, where we'll do a bunch of crazy spots, but we don't really care about this stuff. So yeah, I'm enough of that. But they are beloved, especially with the fans in the building. Right. So like let the kingdom kill them, and like that can be their something.
Sure. And this was a production thing. They were saying, "Oh, well, we're going to see Chuck Taylor. He's hurt, so we're going there right." Which is kind of funny. The delivery's like, "So we're gonna go there right now to see how he's. We're gonna go check up on how he's checking it or whatever. How he said it."
This is Orange. He's the best thing about them.
But then the kingdom attacked Chuck Taylor. It's like he's already hurt. What are you doing? Like you're pouring water on your head in a pool.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it is. It's to really take him out because they were talking about Chucky getting close to being able to come back.
Trent. It just didn't make sense to further injure an injured guy.
I think they don't attack Trent because they're going to do a multi-man and Chucky T's really hurt. So further injure him because he can't
Fine.
really compete in a match.
I just thought it was
put Trent in, and then because I do think that's how that they're going to break up. Trent's been like lean and heel at Orange Cassidy since he won the belt back.
He did react poorly when he said he's defending against.
Yeah, and
that was a little bit.
He's been kind of doing that, which
Yeah.
is I guess a little bit of personality. But I'm just glad like. He's a great wrestler and everything too, but like it's something. And he's like he's been unhappy with it. It's unclear why he's unhappy that Orange Cassidy's the champion, but he's unhappy with it, so that's something.
Right.
And like it's going to cause a breakup. So like that was going to happen. You got this other faction that's doing nothing really except coming out with their like guy that has to sit in a chair and like wasting time on TV. It gives them something. Like gives them something to do.
Master Splinter at this point. How excited were you for the announcement?
The big announcement?
The big
I think
announcement.
Tony Khan was taking the piss too because he emphasized the big announcement. It very much seemed like it was a response to like the well-deserved shit that he catches for it's amazing announcement. It's the most incredible announcement. And this one was just big.
Yeah.
But then when he came on TV to do the announcement, big announcement.
Yeah.
Big ass shit-eating grin on his face. A huge boner for it, of course. It's amazing. It's Sasha Banks, man. Like
good sleuthing on your end, by the way.
It is. Well, I grabbed that from somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Some other
All the little Easter
person,
eggs in that photo.
Grabbed all the Easter eggs that like a couple were pretty obvious. So Tony Khan announces that that the Dynamite they're doing in Boston in like 4 or 5 weeks. Is going to be called Big Business, which I called, not Big Business particularly, but I said what I think this is going to be is I think it's going to be Tony Khan giving this Dynamite a special designation like winter is coming or something. And that's exactly what he did. But within that announcement, there were like super, super obvious, much like CM Punk First Dance, which was perfect in my opinion. Sometimes obvious is good. Super obvious, like okay, it's Mercedes money. It's Sasha Banks. She's going to be there. Right. It's her hometown. They put in the background of this announcement, Boston is spelled with 2 S's, both are dollar signs. Like it's her.
Yeah.
And that's the way that it's making her a big deal. Like because she is one big deal. She outdrawing Roman. When with WWE, her quarter hours did better than Roman's. Like at the height of like Roman's come up, when people were like, "This dude's awesome," she was outdrawn like number wise. So like making it a big deal like that, I think it was a perfect move. And then don't like KISS kind of thing, keep it simple, stupid. If you have the handbook on like we know what works. The way they did it with Punk. Mm-hmm. Works. I mean, I know you weren't watching before pre-Punk, right? Like,
I was, yeah.
Oh, you were? You were watching
since the show started,
prior?
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw the stuff. So like
yeah.
It was obvious that it was going to be there, but like that's how you get that crowd chanting his name to open the show. My only other note on it, and I'm like, perfect, do it exactly. It's going to be great. I'm already excited about the women's division for the first time ever in AEW, and now we got like my favorite women's wrestler probably ever in Sasha Banks. They should like just pay, Tony Khan should offer $1 billion for her NXT theme song. That's the only thing. It's bummer is like it's my favorite wrestling theme probably of all time.
Yeah.
And like money is just not it. And I'm sure Mikey Rockets will probably do some kind of combo or whatever.
She has a famous musician cousin that she could probably
That's true.
Get a track
Yeah, she
from.
could. Who's worked both WWE and AEW, I believe.
So likable.
He had a great one of the great WrestleMania moments when he like on the fly saved the segment when Shane O'Mac went tits up.
And you realize how
Tony Stark.
frail he is because when he jumped to drop the elbow, none of the ring mics picked up any of his weight movement.
Because you can't just get in a ring and start running the ropes.
Right.
Rock, when you haven't done it in forever. Rock. That's what happens, Rocky.
Right. Well, maybe if Snoop Dogg was taking, just the vitamins that Rock was taking, it might have.
His supplements.
D-ball test, basic stuff.
What'd you think of the way that they did the Sasha stuff or the Mercedes?
I'm cautiously optimistic they're not going to fuck this up. Like I think she's going to be a shot. And I was trying to think like who could you bring in that would be so like Punk obviously was like the biggest ratings mover they've had to.
He was. I mean, Punk was, in my opinion, like it'd be bigger than Roman even. Like Punk was at that time, especially, was the biggest thing they could have done.
Yeah, absolutely. So like. Realistically, I know you could fantasy book this to death, and it's like I saw people. They're like, "Oh, it's in Boston. John Cena's coming." It's like, suck your ass, John Cena's coming.
He's not.
Like, who's the most feasible? Not like, oh, I love New Japan. It's Okada. I heard that too. It's going to be Okada, and it's like that's going to be a wet fart.
Well, I do think that they may do that. I think they may do Tony loves his double.
Yeah.
I mean, the one time it was the greatest thing ever.
It was, Adam Cole and Danielson.
Yeah.
That
like,
was cool.
We have new CM Punk, and now we get Adam Cole and maybe the best wrestler on earth. Like,
this is as big as Bash at the Beach. Like, no, it wasn't. Sorry. I mean, wishful thinking.
Yeah.
No one's going to believe in you as much as you, so you might as well. But
better show, not as big.
That was a tough show. But I can't think of anyone who they could bring in feasibly that's going to give more.
She's the biggest needle mover.
Credibility to the show.
Yeah. As far as like name, for sure. I think she's amazing in the ring.
Even if let's say Drew McIntyre came over, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal.
Wouldn't be a needle. It'd be Edge-esque. Like I like what Edge is doing. Like Adam Copeland, I'll still call him Edge. He's been Edge for a million years.
Yeah. I like when everyone calls me Adam. That feels nice.
I like him. I like what he's doing. I like his. It's a stupid name, but
his name Adam Copeland.
No. The Cope,
his name sucks.
His Cope Open. That is, and when it should be the rated R seminar is the one I read. That it's what he should have called it. Obviously,
sure.
The Cope Open is dumb. But I like the gimmick. I just hate the name.
Sure.
So I like what he's doing, but I think Drew would be like along those lines. Sasha Banks is like I said, she's a needle mover, and there are not very many of those.
We're gonna find out really because CM Punk sold out the United Center on the rumor.
Just the perverts are can fill that building. Like you have people like me who I think she's probably the best Western female wrestler ever. And I think she's the best currently. Not way down the list of like globally women, but like Western, I think I'm a huge fan in that way. And then she's got a whole other section of fans that's sizable. It's really like her for other reasons.
Mandalorian fans.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. For her,
I
just love her acting.
It's as much as I don't want to, because she's not easy to work with either. So like I'm hoping that she's not going to be too problematic backstage, but then like look what she's come. So here's what's really fun. You said the women's division's the best it's ever been in AEW. What they have on their plate right now. Who do they got? Toni Storm. What's her face just came back. Serena Deeb just came back.
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa's back. Deonna Purrazzo. You have everyone I mentioned can fucking go.
Yeah.
And who's about to come back? Well, Sasha Banks,
Britt
Baker, Jamie Hayter.
fucking Hayter, the most over woman that's ever been in AEW.
And that is comfortably under 10 good workers on the roster. Yeah. Plus, you pepper in the people we were talking about earlier.
Most of those undercarders are like, most of them aren't Julia Hart. Most of them are Red Velvet. Yeah. Like, she can go.
Yeah. I just need to give more of a fuck about her than she makes fucking cupcake batter.
But to your
when
point,
she comes
like
to the ring.
They
got 7-8 people that can go, and if you're working with the younger people, like that's all. Like if you look back at WWF in 1995, around there when it was the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
But like, how many guys were featured on that show? Less than 10.
Yeah.
Like, and then who do those guys end up being? All your main eventers 5 years later.
Yeah.
So, like, you just have to, and this is if AEW.
That's what we were talking about last week. The calling of the herd is a good thing.
That's absolutely right.
And adding to the women's division, which was, like, underserved, that's okay. If you're going to add to something, that's where you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Sasha, she's the top get they could get, or, I think of any men or women, but like that as a woman is a good thing for them because you don't need to really be adding any more to the men's roster. You need to be cutting back on that.
Yes. Send some of these guys to ROH or like, I don't know, or like fire people. Is that something you could do?
Well, they don't fire people except for people that threaten the lives of the owner. It's the only firing ever in the company's history.
Start attacking Tony.
I think Andrade even tried that. I think he was still like, not fired. You're still going to work out your contract.
Now he gets a better check to work with his wife.
Yeah, no, like like I said last week, let those guys walk too. Yeah. Let them be happy. I like that Tony pays out the contracts though. Yeah. That's good.
I think it's a shot in the arm for her to come in.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm pretty excited about it.
It's the thing that I'm outside of Will Ospreay the most excited about.
Right.
I'm really worried that Will Ospreay is going to get sucked in. He loves Chris Jericho.
Speaking of,
the next, that was my
good. It was a solid segue. The discomfort I had watching this show. It was like when Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper, or was it, were tag team champions?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like way past their prime. That's what I felt.
Old
watching.
Man.
This was tough.
You cannot do a PWG style like super athlete match.
With
Kenny Omega, Takeshita kind of dude with current Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
When Takeshita tried to do the Avalanche Blue Thunderbomb and Jericho only got about like 1/3 of the way around because he just can't move.
Oh, the top rope.
I thought he was going to die.
The one on the ground looked amazing.
And then yeah. But that's all Takeshita. Like I said, Takeshita he was carrying a sack of potatoes to a 3.5-star match. Just what was happening there. And then Jericho being friggin' Jericho, like he does this shit all the time. So he submits. That's how the match ends. He submitted so he can say, "Oh yeah, so I gave him the rub. I submit. I tapped. Yeah. Well, you tapped because Don Callis hit you in the head with a screwdriver after Takeshita beat the shit out of you for the whole match and absolutely didn't need any assistance.
He did the hope spot too, where he his arm. Somebody brought up a good point. They're like, how come now that MMA is so ingrained in the culture and everybody knows if you pick up the arm once and you drop it down, that's the end of the match. Are we still holding on to the trope of 3? It's to build suspense. Nobody fucking cared about this suspense though.
Yeah, no, there's no suspense.
He's like, and then he tapped out 5 seconds later.
Is Jericho going to be done with this company soon?
Yeah.
That's the only thing anybody's wondering about.
He's Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler.
Yeah, he is.
When his pants came down, I said that was his
my personal, we're getting real embarrassing. My internal comp was Vince Neil in that predatory loan commercial where he's driving the Zamboni. Have you seen this?
I don't think so, no.
It's amazing. I may have to pull it up.
Is it the one commercial you've seen amidst your cloudy tower?
I saw it because somebody on another podcast or a YouTube show or something brought it up and said, have you seen this?
I haven't seen it.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's just so far past his prime, Vince Neil, and he's still got they're pretending the hot women are all into him, and it's awful. Yeah. And it's exactly what Chris Jericho is right now.
Yeah, it's tough.
He's got to go. He's gonna get hurt. I didn't think it as much when you mentioned it last week, but you were dead on. And it's this match. They could not have picked a better match to emphasize your point from last week as they did in this. That was the only positive outside of Takeshita proving that he can have a good match with anything.
Also, too, he looked aesthetically pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I haven't been paying attention or I was just hyper focused because we were talking about it last week, but he took his jacket off. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, he looks like he got back in that kind of cardio. He does that he goes up and down with that.
Yeah.
But he can't move anymore.
No, he can't move. That's
that's not coming back, I don't think.
But that's you put who's an old baseball player, put him in there with guys that are playing today.
Yeah.
Put Michael Jordan there with current day LeBron. Michael, you can take him. That's not the point I'm making.
No, yeah.
It's older.
I know what you're saying.
Older greatness versus younger greatness. Takeshita is he's
28 or something, and
Japanese Ivan Drago.
Yeah.
You're not. But he made that match really fun.
Yeah.
Because he was able to, as you put it, sling around a sack of potatoes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love watching him.
The other difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James is there's no chance of LeBron James dropping Michael Jordan on his head.
Sure.
Which there is very much a chance of in a Chris Jericho PWG style match.
Absolutely.
That was
absolutely
no good. No. I feel bad for Sammy Guevara. I've always thought he's incredible, and he's just so intrinsically tied to Jericho that there's nothing he can ever do until Jericho retires.
But they never looked like from night one when they introduced the what was it? It was the 5.
It was the Inner Circle first.
Yeah, the Inner Circle. And my first thought is none of these guys look like they hang out. Maybe Jericho and Hager.
That's because that's what Jericho does. He just grabs people that he thinks are going to help him.
It doesn't work. And it doesn't have to be a race thing. But Too Cool looked like they fucking somehow that worked. But you're that makes sense. Rikishi with these two white guy wannabe rappers.
And when Tony Khan is going his best, he will do sometimes a pairing Bowens and Caster were a random and it works. Beautiful. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Right.
Looking. But Jericho's the anti that.
Right.
And Guevara is the guy that is so stapled to Jericho that did you see unprotected chair shot to Hobbs? He
No.
two chair shots. The second one was just an unprotected chair shot to the head. It wasn't super hard. It wasn't like an Undertaker trying to kill somebody.
Right.
But it was no hands up, like forehead chair shot.
Maybe Hobbs has that really thick neck. And
The only other guy that I can remember seeing that even get done like in the last, I don't know, 6-7 years was when Cody would demand that people brain him. Yeah. And I think I always assumed it was because he was the EVP and he could say like,
Right.
yeah, do this to me. I'm the boss. So,
Right.
I'm not going to sue myself. So
What did he do? It was him and I think it was Andrade when he had that spot that left the scar. He's a scar on his head, right?
Sean Spears, I think. Isn't that why Sean Spears became the chairman?
Could be.
Because
Is that why he has
brained
a scar on
Coney.
his face?
I think that's from
it could be.
braining Cody.
The chairman. That's the dumbest. So, like, what if
But he was a great little coked up sidekick.
if I carry around a stool, am I the stoolman?
Yeah, it was like the chairman, dumb, but as a like wearing a blazer with no shirt under it, like just coke fiend sycophant for MJF.
Yeah.
I loved him in that role.
What was the one? I think it was a Stadium Stampede where they walked into a room and he got like a DC villain entrance in like a video game. Like the whole room was lined with chairs and he's just sitting in a chair. I'm like, oh, this is really, really cool.
His entrance, like, that's the thing, is like they built that entrance for him.
Yeah.
And it's like the Undertaker at the like height of the WrestleMania era entrance. They built this for this dude,
Right?
And then he actually got to use it like 3 times because most of his matches were like starting with him in the ring, or he's coming out with MJF. Or, like he's good in that role though. He's not a main event guy. He just doesn't have the juice.
Now he's making babies with a 10.
I was shocked he didn't show up at the Rumble. I thought,
At number 10?
I thought they would do that just for the the lulls, as the kids used to say 15 years ago.
Pat McAfee fucking waste of a space.
Yeah, who's now permanent waste of space there. Like
he's funny. I don't know. I prefer him over what they had.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I get like
comparison.
even if I'm not to my personal taste, I understand the draw.
Where's
like,
Morrow?
He's a draw.
Morrow,
personally, I wish he was like calling Collision.
Yeah, give him whatever meds he needs, like because he's got. He's got some stuff, right?
It's got to be. I would imagine.
Pay all his doctor bills and get him back on TV.
I know nothing about this, but I my only guess is it's got to be one of the. That's got to be the contributing factor because he's too good to be not doing it.
I heard it was like an anxiety, like an on air, some type of anxiety.
Oh no, he's talked about it openly.
Yeah.
He bipolar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
like he's. I mean, it's a serious thing. He did. I watched a documentary about him, and like, so I assume that's like. I
didn't know he was bipolar. I wouldn't. Get his meds. I didn't know. I didn't have all the information.
You know how many things I could say about exactly in my life?
Yeah.
By previous comments now seem. Like, I'm a lot more careful about how I say things now.
We didn't listen.
But Ian Riccaboni, I love him too. Yeah. But he's like, I'm on the school board. I don't want to travel, so like I can't make him. And then Mauro's got. That's the only thing I know that could be keeping him from doing it because he was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically was Excalibur before Excalibur. He's doing the same thing.
Calling those NXT pay-per-views?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The height of the TakeOver era.
Yeah.
When friggin' Lars Sullivan can get a 5-star match. Yeah, I would love Morrow to come back. And as much as I bitch about Kevin Kelly, he's getting better on Collision. I think he cares now after they took him off of play-by-play and gave it to Shivani recently. Right. It seemed to light a fire. He's fine, but Morrow would be way better. He was so
fucking good. He was so good.
Shall we move on to the
talk about your
main event of the evening?
Brought to you by Woo.
I love.
Be the man, get a can.
I love how they the Dapper Yapper calls the actual names of Sting and Darby, and that is Darby Allin, and this is Sting. Is one of my favorite little touches they do. So Sting and Darby Allin challenging Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Big Bill, who we talked about a little bit last week, and again pops up this week. Boy, oh boy, he was the highlight of the actual match.
Those Timbs.
Oh, those Timbs are amazing. Lime green Timberlands. He so it's a tornado tag match for the titles. Wise move always. I think the tornado stuff. Make it as much of a party match as you can with Sting. But then also Sting in this match, he was moving around with spring in a step that he hasn't had in like a year. I mean, sure. even this last year where he's slowed down from his previous AEW work, was still it's amazing. He's 65 years old or whatever. He should be like on the regular news. They should be talking about him as like a marvel because it's insane. He's like almost my dad's age, and he's doing like planches, whatever. But he obviously Sting had, to me at least, obviously had he was up for this match more than he had been, for stuff over the last year or so. And it was a fantastic match. Darby, I think Darby Allin might be the best wrestler in the world.
He's very
the way he lays out matches are always great. Yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence. Yeah. He has, and also not a coincidence, I don't think that he has chemistry with everyone that he wrestles.
That's a good point.
There's never they just didn't match up. It doesn't matter if it's like a guy that's that can be kind of awkward, like Swerve, or works a different style or whatever. Doesn't matter. Darby has it. And he is the perfect dude to draw your eye to give 65-year-old Stinger recuperative time without making it feel weird. Yeah. And they really do that. So the spot of this match that I was texting you guys about, that it's just insane. And Big Bill needs to use this as his finisher now. The Boss Man Slam or the Abyss, his
right.
It's the same thing. So Darby did his. I always joke about Darby Allin's the only guy in wrestling that he surprises me every time he does a tope. I know he's going to do it, does it every match, but usually they are smart enough to keep the camera off of him, bouncing off the ropes. And it almost because he's such a brilliant layer out of matches, he does it at a time when I don't expect it. Oh shit, there's the tope. Yeah. Surprises me every time. Well, anyway, this time he does it. Big Bill catches him like nothing, like he's an infant, into a picture perfect Boss Man Slam to the cement. It was one of the spots of the year for me. Big Bill just looked dynamite. No pun intended. For the entirety of this match, it really outshined Ricky Starks.
Ricky ain't looking good.
And and you know what? Again, to the finish of the match, I thought Ricky worked it real well. His spear looked real good.
Spear always looks nice.
Yeah.
I don't get psychologically why he made a poo-poo face or a boo-boo face.
No,
I should say.
I don't understand what happened.
It
with
doesn't
him.
why is he all? He's not ending his career. This is not a Shawn Michaels. Yeah. I'm sorry, I love you moment.
It's a guy that's trying to win the belts.
He's trying to retain the. Yeah.
So I still pop for it though. It's just Ricky and him specifically. Right. Wasn't sure about.
But then he's gonna do some dumb shit where he's I had you, but I hesitated. I'm never going to hesitate again. He's going to work it into his dummy.
I guess that's probably what they're going to try to do, is work it into a thing. And you don't it is kind of dumb. And you don't need it. It wasn't needed.
No.
Sting. So the way that the match played out, Darby, which this is again, Darby and Darby, what do I do with this monster 7-foot, incredible, very charismatic and handsome man in Big Bill?
Not me this time. No.
And the answer was just try to kill myself by throwing myself at him as much as possible, and that's what Darby did, and it effectively took Big Bill out of the match, even though Big Bill was bouncing Darby's head like a basketball and Boss Man slamming him to the cement. It was keeping him occupied.
Right.
So the Stinger could kind of have his one-on-one with Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
And the way that played out, Starks didn't do the Rochambeau, I don't think, but
he did not
hit his spear finish.
Yeah.
Sting was able to get the shoulder up. It was nice to see him able to pull a 2.999 pin at his age. Also, Sting earlier in the match had done another crazy Sting party match jump off of the rafters.
How they shot that was super funny, though.
Yeah,
it was you didn't see him right away, and then
I think with every one of these, you got to kind of be we don't know. He's 65. We don't know how this is going to go.
You didn't even know he was there.
Yeah,
and then the camera zoomed in and then backed out.
I think Excalibur said it, and it was It Sting's up there. I'm like, oh, he is?
I didn't even see him. But then I just loved that they zoomed in and then zoomed back out.
Yeah.
Just so, in case you didn't see it, it was like, hey, stupid, look at the guy with the face paints up there.
But that's amazing that he's able to do that shit. But like,
and then they once he jumps, everyone, 2 refs and everyone in the match goes to. You can tell they're asking.
Well, you gotta I mean, I know he's asking to do this stuff, but like, he's 65 years old. Like, you have to be scared every time he does it.
Every time.
I was like, how do you have the balls? This is your pay-per-view main event.
Right.
You have a 65-year-old man like a few weeks before that doing like topes, jumping off of rafters or whatever. I'm like, the ball's on Sting. Yeah. He's going out with a bang. Like that was.
No one's making him do it though. So
no, it's
kudos.
I mean, he's doing. It's awesome. It's all awesome. Yeah. But this is just all stuff that I think about when I'm watching. So kicks out of the spear. Ricky goes for a second spear, which I thought was kind of a cool spot. Stinger catches the spear attempt. And transitions that into the Scorpion Death Drop. 1, 2, 3, new champs.
Yeah.
The confetti falls. Everybody's going apeshit because it's Darby and Sting. Super, super over, obviously. And Sting's farewell tour. And then Matthew and Nicholas. You want to break it down?
Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks, came in.
Passport names, thank you.
Oh, excuse me. They attack the new champs in the middle of the ring as confetti is falling, and then must have hit an artery.
I would say brutalized more than attack.
Yeah. Well, they wore white suits.
Which
anytime anybody in that company wears white, by the way.
This is to my point about when AEW's hitting on all cylinders. Yeah. There's forethought in the detail that they have. They've had, when Matthew and Nicholas, since they've had their comeback, they've alternated, but they've worn the white suits.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just we're coming out in white suits, we're telegraphing they've had these white suits.
Sure.
They haven't done it like both at the same time, they did, but they did. They gave you that first time they came out. Nicholas was wearing that white suit. So that's the kind of detail that I really, and the other detail I really liked was you're attacking Sting with a white bat.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that.
It's one of those, it's dumb, but I'm a wrestling fan.
That's a subtext
so,
right there.
Boy, I love that.
Yeah.
You're attacking Sting with white bats.
And then they bled.
Yeah, Darby, they bludgeoned the shit out of Darby.
And then they rubbed his head.
And then it was very clearly, I think the camera caught something it probably shouldn't have. It's like when they catch Mox blading. It was super obviously, to a funny degree, Darby rubbing his bloody face onto Matthew Jackson's white suit, because it's a great visual. The white suits with the blood all over it. And this was, I think, a super important component to what the Bucks are now. This is it is sealed for me already. Is my favorite thing they've done in the company outside of their 2021 wearing chandeliers on their heads, Dior Jordans. My favorite thing still, but this is going to challenge that, I think. And they needed this. They've been the backstage stuff's cool. There hasn't been enough of it. I agree with you on that.
So much,
but it's been good though. The stuff they've done has been good. They needed something impactful, and this was impactful as hell, and it made sense.
Yeah.
And the fact that Sting and Darby are beloved canonically.
Yeah.
The boys, everybody there.
Yeah.
But these are the only two guys that really you can't come out, because now that they have established that they're on-screen EVP and the EVP trigger. They changed the name of the
I liked.
It's their new finish is the EVP trigger.
I'm like, did they say EVP trigger?
Which is and then Excalibur did further explaining just to make sure to hit home that this is the EVP trigger.
Yeah.
Because they were super proud of that.
Yeah.
So they're X, make sure you mention it after we do it and point it out. Which, benefits of being the boss. But, other benefit of being the boss, nobody can come down and save Sting and Darby when you're beating the shit out of them.
Really, really insightful detail you caught, which I'm like, that's good. More of that, though.
Yeah.
More of
100%.
that where they could just do whatever they want at the fear that you could be fired.
Exactly.
That's
what makes them huge threats for
it's
for a team that's undefeated. Yeah. So otherwise you'd be like, nobody can beat them because nobody's really come close. Well, now they're facing if I had to predict it, I think Sting being Sting, I think he's going to decide to go out on his back.
So I read today he never wanted to win the title, and that was an argument. He never wanted to win the tag
I
titles.
can see that.
And they said, you guys, you're undefeated. You're too popular.
You can't bring back the rankings in like the same month as you have a team that's never lost in 3 years and not have them go for the titles.
So he's for also. Did his sons get any of his wife's DNA?
Oh my God! They just cloned him or went back in time and grabbed Steve Borden's from those two meatball surfer Stinger guys.
He looked just like him.
They couldn't look, and that was a great touch too, bringing the family in for the Bucks.
And they got beat up too.
Murder.
They were ringside, and he gives them the big hug before the match and everything.
You think they're gonna? You think it was just happenstance, coincidence, or that Hangman made his like double turn, heel turn on the show when the Bucks kind of had their coming out as like the ultra heel, were the bad guys.
Well, that's why if it's coincidence, cool. If it's written, cool.
I mean, I don't need the Elite together all the time. Some people always want that. I don't necessarily need it.
But this is where you reward wrestling fans. Like, we all know they're boys.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, if they're going to be evil on opposite sides of the show and shit doesn't make... So if shit starts working in Hangman's favor and they never acknowledge why, but, like, that's a reward for, like, a guy that's watching the show for a long time.
I see.
It's like, holy shit, I know why. It's like, it's the opposite of when Stone Cold wrestled Vince and Shane in a ladder match for control of the company, and Stone Cold was about to grab the briefcase that was hanging, and somebody pulled it away, and they never fucking told you.
Still don't know who the briefcase.
It's
implied.
Still don't know. Yeah. It's implied that it was a lackey. Like, just say it was a Big Boss Man or something.
I think Kevin Owens said a couple of years ago that like it was the McMahon family or something, and then that was considered canon or whatever. But to your point, that's something that happened 20 years ago. We still have no idea, really.
No, but this, where like you've laid enough, breadcrumbs, so we can connect the dots without having to like spoon feed me some shit. It's not everything.
It's both too. It's like spoon fed to a degree. Don't make me feel like WWE where I'm not.
Hey, remember their friends?
I don't need.
They're pointing.
I don't need that. But make stuff obvious, and then also on top of the obvious stuff, have those little like Easter egg and have the Nick Jackson shows up in the white suit a month ago.
Right.
So it's not, they're wearing white suits because they're going to bloody these guys. Wrestling is not that hard to book.
No.
Like, just pay attention. And care. And that's the other thing about this segment. I was, as a true blue Young Bucks fan. Like I'm back to indie days. I was arguing on message boards that they're not just spot monkeys back then. Like, loved them forever. I was really worried that they were like checked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because this last little run before their comeback here, it was clear they didn't.
Came out to Wayward Son. Yeah, and that was supposed to. They tried to trademark that,
and they didn't.
Ugh.
They tried to trademark everything.
The Wayward Sons. We're the Wayward Sons. Shut up.
But
song's not even that good.
But they didn't care. It was obvious they were, even when they're working their lucha stuff, still flawless lucha stuff. Like, there's faces were dead. Yeah. Like, they were checked out, and that on top of the news about like Matt Jackson's wife falling out with the company and them feeling like, they didn't get their say, and who knows how much of this is true, but they're saying the CM Punk divide. So I was of the mind that like, there's a legitimate chance that these guys, like, who I love this tag team, performers I really enjoy, I might be done, like, as I know them.
Yeah.
So this is really, really wonderful because they very clearly love this angle, love this story, and are invested heavily in it.
Well, two things. One, I just said a second ago, Wayward Son's not a good song. It's a really good song. I take that back. Secondly, they're doing what Vince did after he screwed Brett.
Did you say Wayward Son's a good song?
Like, I write really quick, I'm like, that song sucks, but then I immediately felt wrong.
Personally didn't love it as an entrance tune, especially because I wanted to hear Kenny Omega's.
It's really good when Stan Marsh is playing it on Guitar Hero in his underwear.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. They're doing the Bret Hart thing. So when Vince screwed Bret, Vince became the hottest heel in the world.
Yes.
And then so they didn't screw Punk, but they have all this stink on them because Punk's gone. So now
leaning into it. And they've always done the lean into thing, but this is a different thing to lean into.
But this has actual, like, I don't know, We all know it's almost like a direct parallel. Like, we didn't know as wrestling fans, as kids, Vince McMahon ran that company until that happened.
I thought he was Juan Manuva, you know?
I thought he was an announcer. I thought Jack Tunney ran everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, wait a minute, that guy runs the fucking company? Yeah. But, like, we already know that these guys
It's kind of fun if you go back and watch old stuff. There are things that dudes will say, like Macho Man a couple times on commentary would, like, make a weird reference to him being, which you'd never catch, not knowing, but would make a reference to him being the boss. Oh. And yeah, we had no idea that Vince was running the show back then.
No. And hopefully they could just use the same playbook. Like, not that they need.
I think it's like intentionally copying that those tiny mustaches they came back with. They've transitioned to goatees, which is a douchier face thing that I think works better. But they did the pencil thins because they're like, we're Vince McMahon right now. We're coming back as Vince McMahon.
It's good,
and that's what they were doing.
Right.
Details. Yeah. Little details. Like,
well, if they get really tyrannical over the show, which is what I hope happens.
Yeah.
Where they like.
And I usually don't like authority figure, but if they're like,
but AEW doesn't have one.
They've never.
And also, too, they are the authority.
Yeah, they are literally in real life.
They're the legal owners, or not owners, but like.
I have no idea how much power that is, but like it's power. It's
apparently enough,
and it carries. I mean, it makes the angle carry weight.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that they give a shit. They're a lot of fun.
That's the first full Dynamite I've watched in a while. And you could see all the, like, oh, this is all intentional. Like everything meant,
cascading.
Everything meant something, right?
My other favorite wrestling podcast. I'm going to steal a term from my guy Michael Sidgwick, the What Culture wrestling podcast. When AEW is doing its best, 2021-esque, deft dovetailing booking is what he calls it, and that's what we saw. I think in this show is what you're describing exactly.
That's fair.
Is stuff that cascades together and dovetails and fits. Just hope that Tony Khan can stay focused and keep it going.
Just focus.
Yeah,
like he's clearly not focused on Ring of Honor. Like,
which good. Thank you.
He's not currently booking a Japanese crossover show.
Yeah.
So like he just has.
Also,
his shit.
I mean. And not to lay blame. Also, he's doesn't have to think about CM Punk. Yeah, because that is much. I love Punk. It's the guy you have to think about a lot when you employ him. Like that, it just is.
Right.
It's what you get when you. I mean, it's part of the deal.
Right. Fair.
Yeah.
Fine.
Like I said, I came around back with him again. I'm fine. You get what you get with CM Punk.
Totally.
Wrestling genius. There's going to be issues.
Yeah, geniuses are hard to work with.
I just hopefully I get my KO feud.
Yeah.
And before we
just have to worry about him getting hurt. Like, he's going to do the thing when Kevin Nash came back and he stepped in the ring and tore his quad. That's the level.
It was kind of funny.
For us, it was great. For him, it was probably
not great for him.
He yelled a very loud swear word on TV that day. But, yeah. That was Dynamite.
That was the best Dynamite in quite a long time. In a year of a ever improving Dynamite.
Right.
Very, very excited for the future. I really hope that WWE does, and they have an opportunity to. They with the, I don't know if I want to call it work, but what they did at the presser, at least they can go in a direction to fix that and make it entertaining. My dream world is only happened one time, I think, in the history of pro wrestling. Where there were two hot North American TV wrestling companies going at the same time.
Right.
In 1998, late 97, early 98, and that was it.
When it was actually good.
When it was good. When both things were good for different reasons and interesting.
Yeah.
It's only ever happened one time. And we're like right there. Like there's a chance that could happen again.
And then we were there a couple years ago, and then it went away, and now like we're.
Well, I don't think I think that the AEW is like. And WWE to this point have like it's one or the other.
Sure.
One is like hitting on all cylinders, and while the other one's making like is like, oh, this isn't as good as it was.
Yeah.
I think right now we have like outside of the Rock nonsense and Vince stuff, there's nothing you can do about it, whatever.
Right.
But outside of the Rock nonsense, WWE's killing it right now. Triple H has been objectively killing it, even if it's not my favorite. It's a lot of people's favorite because they're doing numbers they've never done before. And if AEW is back on the upswing and doing what I love the most, which is doing that 2021 Tony Khan dovetailing booking, there's a chance that early 98 could happen again.
Yeah.
And that is very exciting for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are exciting for me, taking a thing that was potentially a negative, we're going to turn it into a positive here. We realized this week that there is another podcast, and this, there's lots of doubling up on names of podcasts, but there's another podcast that shares the name Cheap Heat with us. Did not realize it, and it would not be a big deal, except that it is a official Ringer podcast, the biggest podcast network in all of podcasting, their wrestling show, Cheap Heat. So as of two announcements. One, this is going to be our regular weekly spot. Our releases are going to be recorded Thursday night, probably go up on Friday morning. The other thing is that we are currently holding a poll that I will link in the description of this podcast for what the podcast is now going to be called. We brainstormed a little bit, and Dave, are we these four?
I think these are strong.
So, okay. Yeah. So, like I said, link in the description of the pod. Go and vote. Our options are the Transitional Champs, Laying It In, Blue Thunder Pod, which is my favorite, but I don't know if it's too inside baseball. So let us know. Or Getting Some Color. Those are the four options. Please go vote. I'm sure we'll get thousands of votes. And
the website's already crashed. We haven't even posted the pod yet.
Yeah. My computer just started smoking.
Yeah. Smoking menthols. Too much pressure.
Like my old mechanic. But yeah, please do so. And again, thanks everybody for listening. Please stick with us. Join us again next week. Same time, same channel. We hope to be here with you weekly for a long time to come. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.